All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the stream. Welcome if you are new. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. And thank you for waiting patiently as the intro does what it does. See, we have quite a few people here already, which is nice to see. I'm going to let you know what topics we're going to be going over today and what topics we're going to be discussing. And as I'm saying this, boss has awakened. That's what I mean to say. He sees that I'm streaming. He sees the light is on. And naturally, he is anticipating that at some point over the course of the stream, he will get some snacks. Boss, no snacks yet. You should know how this goes by now. But yeah, we have quite a few different topics to go over and discuss today. The first topic that I want to talk to you guys about has to do with PlayStation VR 2. Specifically, I want to talk about my impressions of Resident Evil 4 Remake on PlayStation VR 2. I did spend a good chunk of time with it, and I want to talk about it. We're going to be talking about how Sony surprised God of War fans with some free God of War DLC, which is releasing in just 2 days. I did talk about this during my Game Awards stream, but I want to talk about it again, go over it, talk about our expectations of this DLC, how excited we are or are not for it, and just give you some extra information so everybody kind of understands what exactly this DLC is and what it's going to be offering. We're going to be talking about Rise of the Ronin. We now have a release date for Rise of the Ronin, and it's coming sooner than I think maybe some people were expecting. And so the rumors were true. There were rumors claiming that Rise of the Ronin would be targeting the first quarter of 2024, and that seems to be true. So we'll talk about that. We're going to be talking about the Game Awards and a bit of controversy surrounding Jeff Keighley's show and how apparently people are a little bit annoyed at the way Jeff Keighley handled the amount of time allotted and given to award winners versus how much time was given to celebrities and them making jokes and whatnot. Boss, you can't do this, bro. You're going to knock my coffee over. But yeah, this is something we have to talk about because it's causing quite a controversy, and I do have an opinion on this that I want to share, talk to you guys a little bit. You're saying a little bit is an understatement. Yeah, maybe it is. There's quite a bit of drama surrounding the Game Awards, and I do think people tend to blow things out of proportion very frequently regarding stuff like this. But I do think don't walk on my keyboard. But I do think what's going on with hold on, guys. I'm sorry, boss. You got to go, man. If he starts doing this all throughout the stream, I'll have to get him out of the room. But I do. Hold on. B Flesher. He says, MBG, have you beaten the Mad Clown boss yet? He's been kicking my ass for an hour and a half now. It's so funny you should say that, B Flesher. For those who don't know, B Flesher is talking. He's talking about Lies of P. And there is a mini boss. It's not even a full-blown boss. It is a mini boss called the Mad Clown. And I just can't help but laugh when I see that message from you, B Flesher, because yes, that was the biggest test for me so far in Lies of P. I mean, Lies of P is a relatively difficult game. It's not a walk in the park by any means, but I was getting through it pretty smoothly, I guess we could say. I wasn't encountering anything major that was like, wow, I hit a brick wall here and I cannot progress until I hit that Mad Clown. And I was like, what is going on? This isn't even a main boss. And it's like the hardest thing I've come across by far. And the irony of that Mad Clown boss, mini boss, is that after you defeat him, there's basically a main boss waiting for you. I beat that main boss fight first try after defeating that Mad Clown. So yeah, B Flesher, appreciate you bringing that up, man. I'm still really, really, really enjoying Liza P. And let me tell you, talking about game of the year, my game of the year before playing Liza P was Final Fantasy 16, but I am about 23 hours into Liza P so far, and I'm making good progress. Liza P is, I'm pretty sure it's going to end up being my game of the year. I'm pretty sure. If it maintains the momentum it has right now, I don't know how far away I am from actually completing the game, but Liza P is, in my opinion, shockingly good. And I always kind of had an excitement for it. I always kind of had a little bit of hype for it. I heard people saying it was ridiculously difficult. I think they fine tuned it a little bit, balanced it more, but it's an excellent, excellent game. So I'll let you guys know by the time I finish it if it actually ends up really truly being my game of the year for 2023. Um, but yeah, sorry I got so distracted by that. You gave me flashbacks of me trying to defeat that boss because it took me like well over an hour. Certainly, it took me well over. I actually had to turn the console off and come back at later on because it just pushed me that hard. I'm like, this is getting ridiculous now. Um, we're also going to be talking about some updated sales figures regarding the PlayStation console, as well as how well Sony is doing during Black Friday. Just for anybody who's interested in that, just because we did get some new data, and I've been kind of keeping you guys in the loop there. And we're also going to be talking about a game called Alone in the Dark. I don't know how many of you guys are aware of this game, but some news just came out how this game is getting delayed, and it's for a good reason. And I want to talk about that a little bit. So, these are the topics that we are going to discuss over the course of today's show. And before I dive into the first topic, I just want to let you guys know a couple of ways you can support the channel. As always, just being here, watching the content is very much important, whether you're watching live or if you can't catch it live and you're watching later. I very much appreciate that. If you could do me a favor and just hit that like button, let me know you guys enjoy the content. It helps with the algorithm. But there are 3 ways you can support my channel and my content directly. I am fan funded, so I do rely on you guys to do these things if it's within your means and if it's something you want to do. You can consider becoming a channel member. You gain access to the members lounge as well as some other exclusive members only benefits. We will be doing a members lounge after this stream today. So if you are a channel member, look forward to that. If you are already a member, please consider gifting some memberships. It's a great way to not only support my channel and the content, but to, give back directly to the community. I know a lot of people really do appreciate those membership gifts. And last but not least, please consider donating a super chat. You can ask a question, give an opinion, make a statement, anything in between, and keep the conversation going in maybe some unexpected directions at times. So a big shout out and a big thank you to everybody who continues to fund the channel and support me directly. I really do very much appreciate it. But we are going to dive into talking about Resident Evil 4 Remake for PlayStation VR 2. Now, I've been telling you guys pretty much since I bought PlayStation VR 2 back in August that this was the game I was waiting for. I did play Resident Evil Village for a little while. I played Gran Turismo 7. I played Horizon Call of the Mountain. And I also tried playing that game Firewall Ultra, but it really was Resident Evil 4 to me. Like once I found out that that was going to get a full-blown PlayStation VR 2 version and update, I was like, that is going to be the game that if I didn't have PSVR 2 already, would get me to purchase PlayStation VR 2. Exley, you're saying, what stage are you on in Lies of P? I don't know the names of all. I think I just entered like a swamp area or something like that. I basically just defeated that boss. I don't remember the names of anything in this game, unfortunately. It was it was like the boss. He's a huge, like, he reminded me of Bane a little bit. He's like really buff. He doesn't have a shirt, but he has like these tubes and stuff running down. and I think he's like a hybrid of a person and a puppet. Is his name Victor? Yeah, I just defeated him, and so I'm in the area right after that. So I don't know, like how. Again, I feel like I'm relatively far in the game, but yeah, I beat him first try too. Now, I granted I was using. It's weird because it's like I summon in the specter or whatever, and I really got to stop doing that because I'm finding that I'm like kind of blowing through these boss battles. Like it's not like it's super easy. I'm still taking some damage and having to be on top of my game. But I am noticing that quite a few of these boss battles I'm beating it first try, but I think it's likely because I'm you're saying he was easy compared to later bosses. That's interesting. That's interesting because I keep getting this sense that I'm pretty far in this game. But when you say something like that, it makes me feel like, wow, there must be a lot more uh, waiting for me. So, and I like it too. Like that's the thing is I don't like I kind of am at this point with Lies of P where I don't want it to end, where I'm enjoying it so much. I'm like, you know what? I hope this kind of keeps going. So you guys telling me that there's still quite a bit left definitely gets me excited. I have a $5 super chat from PlayStation Pete, a longtime member. Thank you so much for that, buddy. You're saying Final Fantasy 16, amazing. Might not be able to platinum because it's difficult. My games next year are Tekken 8, Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, and MGS Delta, Star Wars Outlaws if they don't F it up. Well, first off, thank you for that super chat, PlayStation Pete. Yes, Final Fantasy 16 is amazing. I see that's the thing. I don't know when I'm going to get to the DLC now because they just shadow dropped it, which I wasn't expecting. And I'm in the middle of playing Resident Evil. I'm in the middle of playing Lies of P, and then we got the God of War DLC coming. So I might hold off on the Final Fantasy 16 DLC. In fact, I might even wait until they release the second DLC for Final Fantasy 16 because I heard that the second piece of DLC is going to be much longer and have like more story content. I heard that the DLC they just shadow dropped is actually about 3 hours long. So if I do want to play it, it's very short. But I was almost kind of thinking like maybe I'll just wait for the more premium, the bigger expansion or DLC that they release, and I can play both back to back potentially. But because yeah, I'm eating good right now. I'm not. I'm trying really hard to balance out the stuff I want to play, and we're gonna talk about God of War soon, and that's making me a little bit nervous because I'm like, how extensive is this God of War DLC going to be? Because man, I feel like I still got a ways to go with Resident Evil and Lies of P. But you say here some of the games you're looking forward to, and you're not sure if you're going to platinum it. I think honestly, I'll tell you right now, PlayStation P, I think you can platinum it. If you're struggling with the difficulty, because I know you have to play it on the Final Fantasy mode. If you're struggling with the difficulty for Final Fantasy 16, you can wear the rings to like auto dodge and stuff like that, and it makes it a lot easier. There were some moments throughout the Final Fantasy playthrough where I had to do that to get through some pretty challenging parts, but it was in the name of the platinum. So if you really want to go for it, I think you definitely could achieve it. Tekken 8, Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. Yeah, I'm looking forward to Rebirth. I'm on the fence with Tekken. I probably will end up playing Tekken at some point because I've always been a pretty, I don't say a big fan of Tekken, but like I've been playing Tekken since I was a kid. So it's kind of like I just happened to randomly like stumble across the game again. And it's like, oh yeah, let's play some Tekken, and I get really into it for a short period of time. Kind of like Mortal Kombat. You're saying I cheated. Oh, I guess if that's what you want to call it. I mean, I'm just the way I view it is if it's in the game as an option, to help you out or to make some things easier, it's an option. I don't look at that as cheating. Metal Gear Solid Delta and Star Wars Outlaws. Was Star Wars Outlaws confirmed for 2024? Metal Gear Solid Delta was rumored to be releasing in 2024, but no confirmation yet. So I'm hoping it does come out next year. But either way, PlayStation Pete, thank you for that. I have a $10 super chat from Josh. He says, just played the first hour of Resident Evil 4 Remake on PSVR 2, and my lord, I think Capcom is the best out here doing it for AAA VR. These graphics are so amazing. This is my first time playing RE4, and it's not disappointing. Wow, that's really, really interesting to me, Josh. You'll have to let me know when you say this is your first time playing Resident Evil 4. Do you mean like ever? Like you've just never played Resident Evil 4 before, or do you mean your first time playing the remake? Because if this is your first time playing RE4 in general, that's wild. That's a hell of a way to experience this game for the first time. But yes, I am in complete agreement with what you're saying here, Josh. You basically summed up how I feel about my time with Resident Evil 4 Remake on PSVR 2 so far. I booted it up yesterday, and I was really nervous because I haven't played VR in a little while that it was going to make me really sick, that it was going to, be a disaster basically, and I was going to have to stop after 15 or 20 minutes. But I ended up getting through the entirety of the first chapter of RE4 for remake for PSVR 2, and and the only there's only I'm going to start with my only negative, and this is the only negative. It is the visuals to an extent, and I'm not sure it's the fault of the game, but I am finding that I'm just having a hard time kind of finding that sweet spot, specifically with RE4. I don't know why that is. I'll just have to mess with it. But it wasn't to the extent where it ruined my experience by any means. I could tell that like things were just a little bit blurrier. And I could see that with like the text and whatnot, where I kind of realized, okay, it's not ideal, but it still looks really good. And it's like no matter how much I mess with it, I couldn't kind of get it right where it needed to be. But yeah, actually, you're still saying don't sleep on Red Matter 2. We'll see, man. We'll see. I mean, I feel like RE4 is it's gonna take me a while to get through it. I'm unsure if I'm gonna be able to complete the entirety of RE4 in VR because man, it's a little bit challenging. It is. I mean, when you play a game like this, and to speak to what Josh is saying here, he's saying that I think that Capcom is the best at kind of taking AAA games and converting them like in its entirety into VR. I can tell you right now, Capcom they are the best because I played Resident Evil 4 way back, many times. I played the remake, and I was like, I don't want to say I was doubting them, but I was waiting as I was playing through the section the first chapter in PSVR 2. I was kind of waiting for something to reveal itself, where like a major shortcoming or just something that was changed dramatically, but nothing was. I mean, it is to a T Resident Evil 4 remake in first person in VR, and I'm like, this is crazy. Like this is absolutely crazy. And so there was one moment in particular that blew my mind. Okay, like this was like I just couldn't believe what I had just done, and it just made in that moment it made me realize how when you take a traditional AAA game like Resident Evil 4 remake and then you give it the love and the attention like Capcom has done here with RE4 for PSVR 2 to convert it in its entirety, it made me realize just how much of a game changer, like I mean just fundamentally it can be. So this was the section when you enter the village for the first time, right? Like the with the chainsaw guy. And I was I was a little bit stressed out because I was like, man, it's difficult. Like it's just so different, and it's difficult in the sense that you really have to be super engaged, and your senses are just so heightened because you're in it, And I did the thing where I run into the main house, the cutscene plays, the chainsaw guy comes out, Leon's getting stressed. So I ran upstairs, I jumped out the window, and I was like, okay, I'm going to kind of position myself on this roof here, kind of at the corner of it so that they could just come through the window or come up the ladder, and I'll be able to kind of funnel them in. And I started doing that, and it's just so, like the level of satisfaction you feel. And I say this as somebody, again, who has played Resident Evil 4 numerous times. The level of satisfaction you feel and you get from firing that handgun, that starting handgun, and I did enable the laser pointer, just because there was no way I was going to be able to not do that. It's next level. It is like it's not comparable to playing the game regularly, and And so, I'm sitting there and I'm shooting him and I'm like, okay, I have this under control. And then I totally forgot that they can actually put a ladder up behind you, and this village woman like grabbed me from behind, scared the shit out of me, grabbed me from behind. So I broke out of it, but it was crazy because I reacted because it's in first person. I'm in VR. I reacted to that moment the exact way I would in real life, like if this was really happening to me, where I just I just completely swung my hand around, you know, holding the gun, and I just basically put it up to her head and just like shot her in the face. And that blew my mind because it didn't register till after the whole confrontation was done. Where I'm like, holy shit, you could never do that just playing Resident Evil 4 regularly. Like, that is not a possibility. That is only possible in this moment, playing it in this way. And it just, I don't know, it was so fluid, it was so natural. I was just like, holy shit, like that I just would have never imagined I could experience a game like Resident Evil, or specifically Resident Evil 4 in this way. And so when you talk about how well done this is, how the attention to detail to ensure that they didn't half-ass it, and it's a free update. I mean, I'm thoroughly, genuinely impressed, man. And um it's just the only thing that I still have to be careful with, because I played it for like an hour and a half straight, dude. It was my longest VR session so far. And there were a couple of moments where I started to get a little bit like, uh-oh, I'm feeling a little bit of sickness. And it was specifically when I was running around, you know. And there were moments when it's getting really intense, and especially during that village fight when you're getting overwhelmed. I had to start running around like crazy to avoid enemies. And I was laughing at myself because I was trying to sneak up on some enemies and knife them. And I didn't really play, I won't lie, I didn't really play the tutorial, at least not fully. I was like, I'll figure it out. So you're like sitting there, I'm like sitting there crouched behind this enemy, and it's telling me like, press R2 while holding your knife to, you know, s- to stealthily kill them. I'm sitting there, I'm like holding my knife, and I'm like pressing R2. I'm like, why? I'm just sitting there like an idiot. Like, why can't I do this? And it's because it's just for some reason, even though I did play Resident Evil Village, it just didn't register. Like, you have to do the motion, like you have to do the stabbing motion. I'm like, well, okay, duh. But dude, because Resident Evil 4 is more action oriented and more combat focused, oh man, it feels amazing. It does. I'm just This is why I really do hope that Sony is able to make PlayStation VR 2 a success. Not just by, trying to sell more units, but by hopefully producing some really quality AAA experiences, specifically in games like this. Like, I mean, Capcom developers should be looking at what Capcom is doing here as like the foundation of like, maybe we can do that too, you know? Um, I've sat here before and I think, dude, if they can convert Resident Evil 4 in its entirety with a PSVR 2 version, it's the entirety of the game. They no shortcuts, nothing changes except the actual way you play the game. Why couldn't we get that for something like The Last of Us Part 1? You know? Um it really is something that I think Sony should be paying attention to, like Sony Studios specifically, because I am, in case you can't tell, like I'm just very impressed. Did I turn off the snap camera? I did not. No, that's something I want to do, but I'm waiting because I was afraid that, I know you kind of have to build up to that to just have the free camera. Um, and I maybe I could have done that and been okay, but I just decided to stick with the snap camera, as annoying as it can be at times, just for the sake of, I know it's supposed to prevent motion sickness. For those who pretty much aren't fully adjusted. So maybe next time I'll give that a shot. You can reload the shotgun one-handed Terminator style. Really? Now, which shotgun are you talking about? Is it the regular shotgun, or are you talking about the lever? I think it's the pre-order bonus shotgun you get. Because I didn't try that. That's actually awesome, if true. Um, Josh with another super chat here. I'm sorry I missed this. You're saying my first time ever playing Resident Evil 4. Period. The rabbit fur. Yeah, dude, that's crazy. Josh, that's actually crazy to me that this is your first time ever playing RE4. I mean, you know what you should do after this? I'm assuming, Josh, you're going to play it in its entirety. And it's a pretty long game. Like that's another thing that's crazy to me about this is the entire game. It's not like they're cutting out sections as far as I'm aware. It's the entire game. And I'm just like, that's how? Like, how did they do this? Why aren't other Sony developers doing this for their games? Because this is crazy. Um, what you should do, Josh, if you beat the game in VR, is replay it, or as much as you can, like go as far as you can replaying it regularly. Because I'm kind of curious. Like I'm doing it the other way around, where I played the game regularly and now I'm experiencing it in VR. And VR is the next level. It is more challenging, like literally physically, because it's VR. But the level of satisfaction is like, this is why I get nervous, because I am now afraid if I try to go back and play Resident Evil 4 regularly, it's ruined for me. Like, yeah, I can play in third person, I can aim the gun, I can shoot the enemy in the head, but just knowing that, like, I could be in first person, I could have a 3D experience, I can hold the gun up, I can fire it, and you just get just the feedback you get is just it's so much more visceral. It's impressive. It is. Um, Elias, member for 4 months, says VR gives me motion sickness in horror games. Yeah, I it's weird because I almost wonder. I was because I was having trouble like dialing it in exactly where I wanted it to be. I was almost wondering if I was gonna end up getting like sick really quickly or something. But to my surprise, I didn't. Like I forget who said this to me. Somebody said this to me in my chat a couple of months ago, and they were like, when you spend enough time in VR, like in a single play session, when you're out of VR, real life feels weird. And I didn't know what they meant by that. And this was the first time I actually experienced that phenomenon where I totally get it now, where I got so immersed into this for so long that when I took it off, like everything looked too real, you know? I think that's what they said. They said real life looks too real. And I'm like, it does look too real, man. It was like, I think the first time truly my brain was fully immersed in the VR experience to the point where I almost like I was like too deep into it, man. But it was really nice. It was. You're saying you're annoyed your Vertigo 2 got delayed? Damn. You're saying you're playing it today on hardcore. I might lower the difficulty. So I did play it on I forget the name. It was like some kind of assisted VR mode. And I'm considering changing it as well. I'm not sure yet, but I just did that because I didn't want to, like, I knew, I'm like, I haven't played VR in quite some time, and I don't want this to be an annoying or bad experience, and I don't know if I'm going to get sick. So just for the sake of enjoyment and looking to have fun, I just played it on the easiest mode to just basically get adjusted to it and get a feel for it. And I am finding that, like, I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of satisfying. It is. Playing it on the easiest mode, you would think that like it like I would never play it on the easiest mode if I was playing the game regularly on my PS5. Definitely not. I feel like I would get a little too bored with it. But for some reason, it is. You're saying you got smoked in the village area. Yeah, man. I think I died. I died once, and that is how I died in the village. I got messed up by the chainsaw dude. Um, but it is really satisfying where I don't know, I'm kind of like I don't want to say I'm kicking everything's ass, but it's giving me a bit of a power trip here, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm very much leaning into it. But once I get more adjusted to it, I might up the difficulty and see. I just don't want it to get to a place of annoyance, you know? You're gonna push through on hardcore. That yeah, that's crazy. I wonder. I don't know. I wonder if I'd be able to do that. Do I play standing or sitting? So I had to play sitting, and the next time I play it, I think I'm gonna try standing. The only way I could do it standing is in my living room, because there's just simply not enough space if I'm doing it in the bedroom. So I just did it seated, and I definitely the trouble with that is I want to have more freedom of movement, but that's just something that for my first playthrough here was limited. But I was kind of okay with that because I'm like, just maybe it's better that way. I again just getting reacquainted with VR. But I think the next time I play, I'm gonna set it up in the living room and because it's so fun. Like that's the thing, man. This is when I first played PSVR 2, it blew my mind. You guys know this. I talked about it, like experiencing GT7, Resident Evil Village, Horizon Call of the Mountain. But my fondness for Resident Evil 4 is I enjoyed Resident Evil 8 to an extent, but it's far, far from my favorite Resident Evil. Resident Evil 4 is one of my favorite games of all time. So like I had this feeling like this, I think this might be the moment for me. And I was really interested yesterday when I played it to see if it would be, and it is. Like it is pure fun, man. Like it is the type of fun where I don't think I've gotten that lost in a game in a long time. And when I say lost, I just mean like totally. You're in a complete flow state of just wow. And I actually didn't even realize how much time had went by when I finished. I just know that I finished the first chapter, and I was like, oh, I should probably take a break now. Um, and it's I don't want to gush too much over it, but yeah, for me that this is the first time I've really kind of I think hit that next level of excitement and enjoyment for PlayStation VR 2. And I really sincerely hope that Sony pushes to get more experiences like this. And it's no offense to the smaller or lesser known experiences because um you guys continue to you know tell me about these different games that I should try out, or you recommend them. And I'm always like very hesitant, but yeah, man, I hope we get more experiences like this because it's really, really fun. Like, if I could just describe it in one word, it's just extreme. Well, two words: extremely fun. That it's that simple, you know. And when you think about why we play video games, I mean, people play video games for all different reasons, but I think the main reason is to just have fun, have a fun time, a good fun experience. And uh, Resident Evil 4 was always that for me, but I don't know. I just didn't expect when I played it in VR for it to really feel like a new game, and it does, man. It's very nice. Imagine RE5 remake VR co-op. Oh, that would be insane. That would be the next level if Capcom really wants to go there. Unverified Bear, member for 5 months. Let me see. You're saying here when VR is done properly, it is legitimately revolutionary. Unfortunately, 80% of the entire scene is gimmicks and experiences instead of games. Yeah, I that seems to be the kind of feeling I'm getting here with this, where it's like for me, what I've experienced for the first hour and a half or hour and 45 minutes of playing RE4 remake, it is revolutionary. Where it's like it opens your mind up to like all these other games you played, and you just wonder like what would these games be like if they were able to have proper VR versions like RE4 does. And this is where it's like I I I probably could look into it, but I really wonder just how much work this took. Like how big was the development team, how much resource, how much dev time went into this because it is very impressive. And it seems like they got it done pretty quickly where this game came out this year. What month did Resident Evil 4 come out? What was it? March? Yeah, it came out in March. And they got it done before the end of the year. They got it done, what, about like 8 or 9 months, right? So it's like that's super impressive. And again, it just really kind of makes me wonder, like, what other types of experiences could be done like this if a dev team, um, you know, like one of Sony's teams, it's like, okay, we released our AAA game. Now for the next 9 months, we're going to work on a PSVR 2 version, and we're going to release this as a free update. I mean, I don't know. If it can be done with RE4, I just wonder what is stopping it from being done with other games, because it's so good. It's so good, man. But then again, they did have to. There is maybe a level of expertise at Capcom, because they did it for Resident Evil 7, and then they did it for Resident Evil 8, and so maybe they've just gotten a lot better at it. So there's that factor as well. But yeah, Unverified Bear, absolutely, man. I would call my experience with RE4 remake. I know it sounds dramatic, or maybe hyperbolic to some people, but yeah, experiencing this game that I've played in 2D, on my TV with my DualSense from start to finish, played it in the past on the PS2, um, many times. Experiencing it in this way, it is revolutionary. It really is the first game that has kind of got me yearning to see more experiences like this for other AAA video games that we get. But yeah, I really wanted to make sure to talk to you guys about this. This is why I wanted to make this my first topic, because I feel like it's been a little while since I've really talked about, um, you know, PSVR 2. King Sam, you're asking, have I discussed the God of War DLC yet? No, not yet. That's actually the next topic in line. We're about to move on to that. I heard Iron Man VR was really good too, but that was for PSVR 1, which I never got to play. William, you're saying, if you think PSVR 2 is impressive, be excited for PSVR 3 on PlayStation 6. VR graphics will always be one console generation behind. PSVR 1 looked like PS3. PSVR 2 looks like PS4. You're saying PSVR 3 will have PS5 graphics. Yeah, that's probably the way it'll go. I will say, listen, Resident Evil 4 Remake, I know it's out on PS4, and, it looks, I don't want to say like full blown looks like a proper next gen game, because it does have to make some compromises. I mean, it is a remake at the end of the day, but graphically, it's very impressive. Even though I experienced a little bit of blur, it didn't look dramatically different, you know. But yeah, I would say it looked close to maybe like a PS4 Pro game, not necessarily it didn't have the same exact crispness to it as a PS5 game. But yeah, really, really enjoying it. And at this point, my biggest struggle is going to be trying to figure out, how am I going to balance out playing this and playing Lies of P. I'm going to try my best. I am, because I really want to play. I'm addicted to Lies of P right now, and I almost feel like I don't know, playing Resident Evil 4. It was just one of those things where it's like, I have to do it. I have to do it. So we'll see how I can balance that out. We have Ice Rezo with a $5 super chat, and he says VR won't be successful until Nintendo takes VR serious in making games for it. Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of talk over the years about how it's going to take other major players in not just the industry, but even outside the industry, to start taking VR more seriously in order for it to become more mainstream. And I think there is truth to that. Like, I do think if Nintendo embraced VR in a very serious way, it would really increase the likelihood that VR as a platform and as a option for the consumer would, it'll just become more ubiquitous naturally. But I don't know, man. I hope anybody who has PSVR 2 and who has Resident Evil 4 gives this a shot. Like, if you already bought Resident Evil 4, it's a free upgrade. Like, if you have VR 2, like, you have to try it. GTA for VR 2, yeah, that would be a game changer. I don't think that's going to happen, though. I mean, I don't want to say there's no chance. I just think it's unlikely, but something like that would move a lot. Yeah, dude. If GTA comes to VR, like, whether it's VR, PlayStation VR 2 or another headset or whatever. I mean, I guess PSVR. Well, it's only announced for the PS5 and Series console, so it would have to be PSVR 2, dude. If Sony could somehow get Rockstar to do that, oh man, that would be that would be it. That would be the moment I think VR would take off, even for as expensive as it is, because so many people would want that. Wait, hold on, I can experience the world of GTA 6 in a high fidelity VR unit. I mean, it would. I think it would skyrocket. I think it would really propel PSVR 2 sales, but that that is a very different, I think, undertaking than um something like Resident Evil 4 remake. So to an extent where I don't even know how possible that is. I assume there's going to be a first person mode in GTA 6, just like in GTA 5. So it's a I don't want to say it's likely. I think it's a possibility. I just think it's on the more unlikely side. But something like that would, I think, change the landscape for VR. Something like RE4 remake is big and it's exciting and it's nice. I think a lot of people are like, "Whoa, this looks cool," but it's just not comparable to something like the juggernaut that is going to be GTA 6. If you get something like that, that could be what does it. Um, and it would be great to see, man. I would love that. I mean, that sounds like a dream, honestly. Being able to experience GTA 6 in VR with PSVR 2. On a PS5 Pro, that's the dream. That's the dream right there, man. So, yeah, that's I think that's going to conclude my talk for PSVR 2. That's going to conclude this segment of the show, but yeah, anybody who is listening to this after the fact, please leave a comment down below if you have PSVR 2, if you've tried out Resident Evil 4 Remake. But we're going to move on to the next topic here, which is talking about Sony surprising fans with free DLC, which is launching in just 2 days. I'm getting overwhelmed here with the amount of stuff to play. Did I try The Walking Dead yet? I did not try it yet, no. If you don't talk about a backlog of games for VR2, yeah, it's looking quite large there. But God of War Ragnarok Valhalla, how do you say it? Valhalla or Valhalla? To me, I feel like I want to say it Valhalla. Something just sounds weird about saying Valhalla. Valhalla. Yeah, Valhalla sounds right to me. I'm going to stop saying it though, because if I say it anymore, it's going to do that thing. If I say it anymore, it's going to do that thing where if you say a word over and over again, it starts to sound really weird in your head. But yeah, this is something that I want to talk to you guys about because it's really, really interesting how both Naughty Dog and now Sony Santa Monica are embracing the rogue-like experience. We found out with The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered that one of the biggest selling points of this upgrade is the no return mode. And the no return mode is a roguelike. It's for anybody who's wondering, just think like Returnal, essentially, where you have to just keep pushing forward and you have to master the levels and you get with God of War Valhalla, it's going to have permanent upgrades that you can get. And this is really interesting to me. And I want to go over this info with you guys. You see, I'm saying it wrong, like a real American. I don't think so, man. I don't know. Valhalla sounds right to me. Actually says Returnal is the best in the genre, in my honest opinion. Returnal is incredible. Yeah, Returnal was my game of the year for 2021. And it was my first, if I'm not mistaken, it was my first true roguelike experience where I'd always been somewhat familiar with the genre in the sense that I would hear people talk about it and I would see games that kind of did it that way. But it wasn't until I played Returnal that I really fully understood I understand this genre of game now and I really like it. It's quite challenging though. It is because well that's the nature of it. Like you have to master it. And for something like Returnal, there really was that kind of flip of the switch where I went from really struggling, getting to a point where I almost felt like I wanted to quit to Now I'm just destroying everything. Like I got good, you know? So the idea that we're going to get that with God of War is very interesting to me. And I won't lie to you, as Naughty Dog continues to market the no return mode for The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered, you guys know, like, I'm very underwhelmed by this game getting remastered for multiple reasons. But the more I see of this, I'm like, this is very interesting to me because I love the gameplay and the combat of The Last of Us. And they dedicated an entire mode here. Like, they created a whole new mode that's just about the gameplay. And I'm like, okay, I mean, I might have to try it out. I might have to try it out. Saying Joel's back. Can you play as Joel? I would assume you can play as Joel in that mode, right? Because I noticed they're showing off like all these other characters, but not Joel, which I guess makes sense. Because I guess that's just the assumption. Like, of course you could play as Joel. Yeah, I'm gonna go play The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered just so I can play as Joel. Imagine one of the things they do is you can unlock a Joel skin for Ellie. So you can play through The Last of Us Part 2 Ellie sections as Joel. How weird would that be? Now that would be weird. That'd be amazing. Kratos mod incoming for PC. Absolutely, man. But let me go over this information with you guys, just because I want to make sure everybody fully understands what this DLC is. I think a lot of people, see this announcement and they see it's coming out for free on the 12th, but they don't really know the details of it. So this is coming from the PlayStation blog. And the first thing that they open with is, as of November 19th, God of War Ragnarok has sold through more than 15 million units worldwide across PS4 and PS5. I just wanted to take note of this because it's the first time we're getting a sales update on sales for God of War Ragnarok since Ragnarok came out November 2022. And the last update we got, it sold 11 million copies about 3 months later. So about February. So the last sales update we got was, I think, in February of this year, where they said it sold, I think, around 11 million. So between February and now, it sold another 4 million copies and is now sitting at 15. So I think at the rate it's going, Ragnarok is going to end up being a 20 million seller when it's all said and done, which is certainly impressive. Pretty good success, pretty big success, I would say. Are the bundles included? I'm assuming, yeah. I mean, you have to assume that the bundles are being included with these numbers. Because if they weren't, I think that they would make that clear. But either way, I mean, I think some people get very confused about like the measurement for success with AAA games. And when it comes to a game like God of War Ragnarok selling 15 million in like what, a year and a half or something like that, yeah, no, hold on. Now I'm getting it came out November, just over a year. My bad, not a year and a half. I don't want to get too confused here. A game like Ragnarok selling 15 million in just over a year is very good. Like, that is a successful game, and many video game studios and developers would love for their game to sell anywhere near that amount. So definitely good for them. So they opened it up by saying that they say here, to show our appreciation for the incredible support and love you've given the game since its release last year, our team has been working on a surprise for the God of War community. As fans of our fans, we're thrilled to announce that on December 12th, we'll be releasing a free DLC as gift to our players, God of War Ragnarok Valhalla. God of War Ragnarok Valhalla will be an epilogue to the events of God of War Ragnarok that follows Kratos on a deeply personal and reflective journey. Set after the decisive battle against Odin and Atreus' departure, Kratos has seen a path for himself that he never thought possible before. Brought to the mysterious shores of Valhalla, accompanied only by Mimir, Kratos will enter its unknown depths to overcome trials within himself and face echoes of the past. So this gets me very excited because if you watch the trailer for this God of War DLC, it's made very clear that this is about Kratos facing certain aspects of his past. And to me, this is one of the most um, exciting and interesting parts of the new God of War uh, series, basically, starting with 2018 and Ragnarok, is just kind of seeing Kratos change in that way and be reflective and look at his past and trying to come to terms with that. And so the fact that this is the direction they're going in with this DLC, I'm not expecting it to be like a major like story push in the sense that, so if we look at something like the Ghost of Tsushima Iki Island expansion, multiple cutscenes, major story moments, but it was a significant DLC that you had to pay for. This is a free DLC. I'm assuming there will be a couple of smaller cutscenes and a couple of moments that will kind of give you a little bit more of that. But I am interested. I'm not gonna lie. I am very interested to see like how fleshed out is this going to be, because the way they're setting it up here definitely piques my interest. It's just Kratos, just Mimir, just focused on combat, just focused on Kratos, um, you know, facing his past. A question I have is, how does he arrive in Valhalla? Because you have to die to go there. So I'm really interested to see how that happens. But yeah, just right off the bat here, the way that they're describing, the story side of this DLC, very interesting. They say here, combat reimagined. The team here at Santa Monica Studio challenged ourselves to make something different from anything we have done before in God of War history. God of War Ragnarok Valhalla celebrates the combat you know and love from God of War Ragnarok and blends it with fresh experimental elements inspired by the roguelite genre. Each attempt in Valhalla will encourage you to master different aspects of Kratos' arsenal as you face new combinations of enemies and some surprises along the way. So, yeah, again, this is Santa Monica making it clear that they've never really done something like this before. They're experimenting with a different type of gameplay within the God of War universe, within the Ragnarok gameplay. And they do make it clear that there are going to be some surprises. I'm assuming they may have showed one of those surprises with the Cyclops. We did see that. Um, some people are taking it as far and speculating that maybe we'll see like Zeus or something, and we'll have like some kind of boss battles that are kind of going to be in the same vein as like what we saw previously from the original games. But that I'm not so sure about. I think I'm just saying, I'm not trying to be like a Debbie Downer here, but it's just like this is a free DLC, and I do want to keep my expectations in check um where I don't want to assume there's going to be like some massive surprises that no one saw coming. Just because again, like it seems to me the bulk of the focus on this DLC is going to be about changing the gameplay and the gameplay loop and essentially turning God of War into a roguelite. Um, but if they have some kind of surprise like that, that would be certainly very welcome. Saying we will see Athena and Ares and everyone else. That would be, yeah, well, maybe it'll come in the form of, maybe they won't be boss battles or anything like that, but they'll just kind of be like it's like that one scene when they were in hell and Kratos kind of like watched a flashback, like he could kind of see it happening right in front of him. Maybe something like that. That'd be very cool. That'd be very, very cool. Um so yeah, I really like the direction they're going with this. But they continue here by saying, in Valhalla, defeat in combat is not the end of a warrior spirit. If Kratos falls, he will reawaken outside the doors, ready for the next try. During each attempt, you will learn and adapt to the challenges Valhalla has to offer. The more you overcome, the more success you'll gain that can be put towards permanent upgrades that affect both Kratos and even Valhalla itself. Accumulating rewards and knowledge during your attempts will help you get even closer to discovering the mysteries that await Kratos within. Dude, So when they talk about this, I'm like really beginning to think that they just were like, let's just make Returnal, but in God of War. And it's going to be really interesting because if you think about Returnal, right, there was a story to Returnal, but the story was only unlocked as you mastered the levels. You would be rewarded with like a new cutscene, or for those who played Returnal, there's the area where you go inside the house and you explore the house. I think it was in first person. And I'm not saying it's going to have that same type of depth to it, but I do like this notion that they are teasing there are going to be some mysteries, story mysteries you would assume, that you can only really unlock as you master the levels, as you progress. And it just kind of gets me thinking, like, again, without overhyping it and getting my expectations too high, it seems like there may be a little bit more to this. Like, it might be a little bit more fleshed out than maybe we would expect for a free DLC. That would be phenomenal, but we'll see. They say here, the shores of Valhalla humbles all those who wish to enter. Kratos must cast off his armor and equipment and instead build towards both per attempt and permanent rewards. Kratos will have access to all of his weapons and fully upgraded skill trees at all times, but must commit to a shield and path of Spartan rage for each attempt. As you overcome the trials of Valhalla and explore its depths, you will make choices between temporary glyphs for which stats to upgrade, which perks to select, which runic attacks to wield, and more. Each attempt can play out differently based on the rewards you choose, so keep your strategy in mind when making selections. Wise preparation, adaptability, and the challenge at hand, and command yourself to the challenge at hand, and command your abilities with the keys to mastery. Will be the keys to mastery. I'm just getting very distracted by these screenshots. Sorry, they have like screenshots listed here, and it's really interesting because they're making it clear that like you can use armor. You can wear any armor you want, but the stats don't matter. And I'm really interested to see how they pull this off, man, because this sounds pretty much like the polar opposite of the way combat is handled in God of War Ragnarok. God of War Ragnarok has kind of like a more traditional RPG approach to a certain extent, where you're going to level things up, you're going to get better gear, better stats. This is just really kind of leaning more in the direction of it's just purely skill based, and you make certain decisions, basically make certain loadouts that will determine how successful potentially you can be. But I think they are showing off some new armor sets here as well, which look pretty cool. They say play in style. Armor in Valhalla is for appearances only, so don't hold back when customizing for style. Unlock different looks, then mix and match your favorites between attempts and get Kratos looking fighting fit for all your photo needs. Choose your challenge. God of War Ragnarok Valhalla has 5 difficulty settings that have been specially crafted and tuned to the unique gameplay of this DLC. Each difficulty setting increases the rewards you'll gain from battle, and you can swap freely among them between attempts, including to and from the highest difficulty setting, Show Me Mastery. As your skills grow, we encourage you to try out some of the higher difficulties to earn more rewards and test your mastery over Kratos' arsenal. Between the 5 options, you will be able to select the level of challenge that is most fun for you to help further customize your gameplay experience. The DLC will continue God of War Ragnarok's standard for accessibility settings. So this is something I also want to speak to. This is where they are taking, I think, a different, I don't know, I can't say if it's a completely different approach, but somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like roguelites aren't necessarily supposed to have difficulty options, or they rarely do, because it's more about like there is a set difficulty. Maybe I'm wrong about that though, because if I'm remembering correctly, Returnal did not have a difficulty option, and maybe it didn't, right? Yeah, and like Sifu, I remember when that first launched, it didn't have a difficulty option. They did add one later, but it's because it's like there is supposed to be a set level of difficulty, and the challenge is you have to master it to overcome it, to get through it. So they are okay. So I am right. Yeah. So this is where they're making it clear that they want it to be more accessible. I don't have a problem with this. To be clear, like I don't have a problem with a developer ever wanting to add difficulty options because they're optional. Like if you want the hardest challenge, there you go. It's there for you. But I kind of understand why they're doing that in this instance because, you're talking about people who are playing God of War Ragnarok, beating the game. There's a certain play style. And what they're introducing here with this roguelite DLC is very different from that type of gameplay. So I can understand why they might think, maybe we just need to give those options there or put them there for people who might need them. Uh, PS Gamer, remember for 5 months, says, MBG, do you think with The Last of Us 2 and God of War Ragnarok DLC roguelike, do you think this is the effect of Housemarque on PlayStation Studios? Keep up the good work. It's a great question. I mean, possibly, it is interesting to me that the first like AAA rogue like game that we get from Sony comes from Housemarque, who they acquired, and now we're seeing Naughty Dog and now Santa Monica Studios, some of Sony's biggest studios, being like, let's give it a try ourselves. I really like it. I think that, I don't know, maybe Housemarque proved with Returnal that when it comes to the core PlayStation fan base, that there is a real desire for this type of gameplay experience. Now, granted, it wouldn't make sense for Naughty Dog or Santa Monica Studio to turn their next AAA games into full-blown roguelike titles. I don't think that would work out well for them. But them choosing to kind of have like these extra bonus modes, or in the case of God of War DLC, I think that makes perfect sense. And I think it's great because, yeah, dude, it turns out I'm a pretty big fan of this genre of game. And I learned that through Returnal and through Sifu. And it's not, it's one of those things where it's always a challenge. I feel like every time I've experienced this type of game with Returnal, with Sifu, I hit a brick wall. I do. Like, I hit a brick wall and I'm like, man, this is really tough. But it's just, that if you just, the game isn't unfair. It's just, it demands, again, when there aren't difficulty settings, it demands you got to learn it. Like, you have to learn the game. That is the real, I think, appeal of this type of genre, where and why it appeals to so many people, because it's not like something, oh, I could just grind and level up and overcome it that way. It's not, oh, I could just, I mean, in the case of God of War, I guess you can change the difficulty setting, but most of the time you can't change the difficulty setting. It really is just like, these are the mechanics, these are the rules of the game. If you want to overcome it, if you want to win, you have to learn it, you have to master it. And I'm really interested. I am. I'm very interested to see how Santa Monica handles this, because you can tell they're really positioning this as like, this is our first attempt. Let's see how we do. Hopefully they nail it. Hopefully it's pretty good, pretty well done. You're saying it's cool for the people that don't want to deal with cutscenes. Yeah, that too. Yeah, that's another really interesting aspect of this, is when you look at Naughty Dog and when you look at Santa Monica Studio, they're both known for really good gameplay, I think, but they're also both known for very cinematic, story-driven narrative games, which we want. Well, most of us want. I kind of like that they're taking these opportunities here to just say, you know what if let's just focus on the game. Let's just focus on the gameplay and not much else. And yeah, I'm really interested in that, because there is kind of like a little bit of criticism towards Sony's games at times, which I think some of it's fair. I think some of it's unfair, but there is a bit of criticism at times where people feel like there is too much of an emphasis on like cutscenes and the narrative and the story, and not enough, focus on the gameplay itself. Again, I don't fully agree with that, but I can understand why there's like this desire from some people where it's like they just want more gameplay. Just more gameplay. And I get that, because at the end of the day, gameplay is king. You can give me the best story, you can give me the best cinematics, you can give me the most interesting characters, but if the game isn't fun to play, then who cares? And I'm not saying Sony's games aren't fun to play. I feel the opposite. Maybe some people feel that way, but I can just, I can see when you think about the gameplay of The Last of Us, when you think about God of War gameplay, I can see why there's this kind of maybe feeling within the developers where they're like, can we do more with this? Like, what if we were what if we were able to break free of the kind of, we don't have to worry about how this fits in the game itself with, the structure of the story, but we can just focus purely on the gameplay and just really maximizing that. Like, just how fun can we make this gameplay? I really do like that. Yeah, I don't know. It's very interesting timing that both Naughty Dog and uh, Sony Santa Monica are doing this at the same time. Let me finish up this write up though. We only have a couple more sections here. It says play at any time. God of War Ragnarok Valhalla is a separate experience from God of War Ragnarok, so you don't need to worry about going in without certain upgrades, equipment, or story progress. If you think if you think the DLC sounds fun, you can jump in at any time. However, if you are concerned about narrative or gameplay spoilers, we do recommend that you finish God of War Ragnarok first, as Ragnarok Valhalla serves as the epilogue to the story of the base game. So, yeah, they're making it clear that they're not going to lock this DLC off if you didn't beat the game, but they're highly recommending you complete it because, you know, it's the epilogue. So, yeah, I would want to complete that. The main story, that is. They say here, a gift to the fans. If you own God of War Ragnarok, you will be able to download Ragnarok Valhalla for free on December 12th at the PlayStation Store. On behalf of everyone at Santa Monica Studio, we want to wish everyone a happy holiday and extend our heartfelt gratefulness for the incredible support you've shown us over the past year. We truly are fans of our fans, and we hope you enjoy God of War Ragnarok Valhalla when it comes out next week. We can't wait for you to play and share your experience with us by using hashtag God of War Ragnarok Valhalla or hashtag GOWRV on social. And so, yeah, they're basically just giving a big thank you here. And I really like this. I do. I want to now talk about the fact that this DLC is coming out for free. This was a very nice surprise. We were talking about this DLC prior to the Game Awards announcement because there were rumors for a while that there is some type of God of War DLC. And I think most of us, myself included, I was leaning more so in the direction that this is going to be a big expansion, kind of like a standalone game almost, similar to Miles Morales or Uncharted The Lost Legacy. And we speculated very heavily that this game maybe could focus on Atreus and how he's going on his own journey. And that's not happening. This is the opposite of what I personally speculated, and that's not a bad thing. It just is not what I was anticipating. I didn't think that it was going to be a free DLC, let alone something that was dropping, pretty much shadow dropping. I mean, I know it didn't drop the night of the announcement, but a couple days later is, to me, pretty close to shadow dropping. And there's a part of this that really interests me. A lot of people were thinking that if this DLC was going to be focused on Atreus and his journey, that like it's a clear sign that the next mainline God of War is still going to focus on Kratos and Atreus together. This has kind of got me wondering, like, I'm curious to see. I am assuming with this God of War DLC that there is a beginning and an end to it. Like, there's a beginning cutscene to initiate this roguelike mode, and you'll learn things or experience things as you're going through. But I assume there will be a way to beat this DLC, and when you beat this DLC, you are rewarded with, like, I guess what would be the final piece of story for the Ragnarok saga here, right? Where that's my assumption. They seem to be alluding to that. And I'm very interested to see where they leave Kratos after this because I'll be honest, like, I wasn't expecting something like this for Ragnarok. I thought that the next time we would have saw Kratos and get anything regarding his story would have been, having to do with Atreus going out on his own. And I wonder if they're going to talk about that at all in this. I'm just very curious to see if basically anything we get from this new DLC steers us in the direction of, like, well, where is the God of War series headed? Maybe not. For something that is a free DLC, maybe that's expecting too much, but it's just very fascinating to me because I feel like there are many different directions they could go in, truthfully. And it's also worth mentioning, remember the voice actor? I think it was Ben Pendergast. He did the voice acting for Tyr. He said, it was earlier this year, kind of teased like you haven't seen or heard the last of Tyr. So I do wonder if Tyr's going to make an appearance in this DLC. If he doesn't, at that point you have to wonder what he may have been alluding to. You're saying MBG the Atreus game is supposedly on the scale of Uncharted Lost Legacy, so it might be a standalone mid-sized game. So are you implying that there's actually a whole nother like standalone DLC separate from this? That would be really interesting and very unexpected. I don't know that I believe that though. You're saying perhaps a more story-focused DLC is set to be revealed at the PlayStation showcase, since it may not be ready now. Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, when we got the rumor from the snitch, I think we got that back in like September or something, August or September. He said that the DLC was about 60% done. So, I mean, I guess this you have to assume this was the DLC that was being talked about. You think we are getting a spinoff? Actually, you're saying if they get rid of Kratos, I'm not sure I'd play it, given Sony's current climate. Well, I mean, I I will say it would be very challenging for me to like embrace a new God of War game where Kratos isn't the main focus, um, at least to some extent, because I don't know. At that point, it's like I don't know. It's so tough, because Kratos was here from the beginning. Kratos is the God of War, you know. I think that there's like kind of maybe this idea that the future of the God of War series is in Atreus, right? Maybe. And that could be really cool depending on how they handle it, but I don't know, man. I think Sony should be careful because I think it's okay that Sony has many different game series and IP and franchises where they always kind of rotate the characters or they retire certain characters. But I think like this is where Sony should maybe pay some attention to Nintendo, where Nintendo doesn't do that, you know? Like Nintendo has relied on the same characters. Granted, their games are not like deeply story driven in the same way that Sony's games are. So the narrative aspect isn't quite the same. Um, but I do think that it would be beneficial and wise of Sony to ensure that Kratos is a mascot and stays as part of the PlayStation. Like, it is always expected that we will get a God of War game and we will play as Kratos. I think if Sony removes that one day, I don't think that would be a smart idea. It's kind of like, I don't know. Because, I mean, you have Astrobot, you have Kratos. Who else is there? I mean, there's like Jin Sakai, right? From Ghost of Tsushima. I think Jin Sakai can serve as another main mascot. There's Aloy. I mean, I don't know if we could say Uncharted because with Uncharted, it's like, I think Nathan Drake's done, you know? So I don't know that Nathan Drake could be seen as like a PlayStation mascot, but I just think if Sony has expressed a desire to grow their intellectual property and grow it to the degree at which Nintendo has, where it's that popular, that well known. I don't know that they'll ever be able to achieve that. But if they want to get anywhere close to that, I think part of that is you have to keep your characters alive and front and center. You do. Like you have to be like you can't be afraid of people saying, "Man, I'm tired of playing as Kratos," because it doesn't matter. Because it's like it, that he's a mascot, like he's a mainstay, you know. Yeah, like Ratchet and Clank. Um, you mentioning a Snake. Well, I mean, that's the whole thing, man. Is like even with the Metal Gear series, yeah, there was Metal Gear Solid 2 where you played the bulk of the game as Raiden, but from that point forward, like you still played as Snake. You know, MGS3. Granted, it's not Solid Snake; it's his dad. You know, like they're basically the same. And he's a literal clone. You know, Solid Snake's a literal clone, so it's like you're playing a Snake. MGS4. Hey, you're playing Snake again. He's old, but you're still playing a Snake. MGS5. Spoilers for MGS5. Yeah, you're playing a Snake. You find out at the end, but you're not the real Snake. You're a doppelganger. But it's like, does it matter? You're still Snake. It's like it's so funny because I just think that this is something Sony should be, I think, thinking about. Nobody ever says we've seen too much Mario. Yeah, Venom Snake. What an interesting twist. Yeah, so I am very interested in this DLC, and I'm going to be playing it. I'm going to have to reinstall God of War, and yeah, dude, I it's been a while since I played it. I mean, I haven't played it since I platinumed it, so I'm going to have to get reacquainted. Which I guess it shouldn't be too difficult because again, they make it clear like all of your abilities are static. So I just have to get used to the feel of the gameplay again. No, erase that. The cardboard box is the mascot. They could call Atreus' game Son of War. Kratos will always be the god of war. Yeah, I mean they kind of have an advantage here with Kratos as well, where even from a story perspective, like I don't know if they ever touched on this in the game, but or in the series. My understanding is that Kratos can't die. I mean, he is a god, so it's like he does age, I guess, a little bit, and maybe he slows down, like we kind of saw that, you know. But he is immortal, and he will always be the god of war for as long as, I mean, for forever, right? Like that's my understanding. Like I don't think he can die from old age, right? You're saying you guys are overblowing it. Atreus would be fine. I mean, maybe. Technically, Kratos is no longer a god and hasn't been since two. Yeah, yeah. I guess that's the fun. All the other gods have died. Well, I guess it's just because, yeah, that's true. If all the other gods can be killed, then I guess Kratos can be killed as well. Perhaps Kratos is as old as he feels. That's an interesting theory. Turns out that's how it works with godhood. If you feel old, well, you're going to be old. If you feel like you've been around for too long. You're saying, damn, no awards won at the Game Awards, and MBG over here forgetting Spider-Man as a mascot. I mean, yeah, Spider-Man is definitely a mascot for PlayStation to an extent, but I don't view Spider-Man in the same way that I view like Kratos or Ratchet from Ratchet and Clank, you know, or Aloy, because it's not Sony's original property. They're using it, and I think they're using it well to sell PlayStations and to associate, like, hey, PlayStation Spider-Man, they go together, and we'll see that with Wolverine. But I don't think I could ever bring myself to look at Spider-Man or Wolverine as like true mascots of the PlayStation brand. I think that they can be synonymous. Like I can't look at Snake as a true mascot of the PlayStation brand for the simple fact that it's not Sony's. It's not. It's Konami's. And Konami at times has proven like we will put Snake everywhere. You know, like it's not Snake is not what's going to, you know, it's you get what I'm saying? Like it's just it's not it wasn't created by PlayStation themselves. or Sony themselves. So I think that we could see these different characters that are synonymous with the brand, but not necessarily true mascots of the brand. Because to me, a true mascot has to be one that was created by the brand and remains, you know, as again, like at the forefront of that brand. That's how I view it anyway. Spider-Man and Kratos in Fortnite. Yeah, that's true. God, I forget sometimes that Kratos is in Fortnite. Sly Cooper is a mascot. You just SGT says, I just want Kratos to jump again, man. That's all I want. I just want him to jump again. It'd be really funny if they added a jump mechanic for the DLC. But yeah, I mean, this was a nice surprise, in my opinion, that Sony gave fans at the Game Awards. I think it's really nice that they showed up with God of War, and most importantly, they were like, it's coming out in a couple days and it's free. I don't think it gets any better than that. And I'm not, like, to me, it's not the equivalent of like a big new game announcement. Certainly not. But for what it is, it's very good. And I like it. Do we have any indication of the length yet? No. That's the thing, man. No matter how long or short it is, it's free. So no one will be able to complain. Like, it could be an hour long and you wouldn't be able to complain because it's free. And that's why I'm going to be cautious about my expectation, where it's like, it would be cool if it was pretty fleshed out. And it would be cool if they over-delivered, is what I'm saying. Is if it's like, wow, dude, this thing is like 5 to 6 hours long. It's crazy they didn't charge for it. But, since it is free, if it's only like an hour or two to complete, that's cool too. Like, that's still nice. It's free. You cannot complain about free. But somebody, again, did remind me, like, hey, man, Ghost of Tsushima Legends was free for anybody who bought Ghost of Tsushima. And that thing was fleshed out. Like, that thing was not short. It wasn't like a full-blown game in the sense that, like, if you paid $70 for a multiplayer Ghost of Tsushima, there would need to be more content there. But for free, I mean, dude, it had, like, 6 or 7, like, missions you could play cooperatively. It had a survival-based mode. It had a raid. It had a lot going for it. And it was free. So it's like, we have seen PlayStation Studios over-deliver with with their DLC in the past, with their free DLC specifically. But again, I'm not going to go in with that assumption. Yeah, dude, the raid was pretty crazy in Ghost of Tsushima. I've never really done raids before. I think that was the only raid I ever did. The raid mode still gives you nightmares. It was pretty challenging, man. I mean, it really required a lot of teamwork, but this is why I'm saying, like, if there's one thing Sucker Punch proved is they know how to make a good multiplayer experience. I mean, that to me was the craziest thing about Ghost of Tsushima Legends is, like, when you play that entire experience, including the raid, you realize, like, oh my God, dude, these guys they're like pros. You would have never thought that this is the same team that just made one of the best, in my opinion, one of the best single-player open-world games ever. So, yeah, getting a multiplayer game of some kind or, alongside Ghost of Tsushima 2 from Sucker Punch, I'm very excited about. Lore Cannon, you're asking, have I played the finals? I have, yeah. So I did download the finals, and you're saying it's an amazing game. I'll be honest with you, man. Maybe I have to play it a little bit more, but I played, I think, about 2 games. And it's not bad at all. Like, it's actually very high quality. You can definitely tell some of the development team worked on Battlefield and worked at DICE before, but there's something about it. It's difficult for me to really hone in on what it is, but I had no desire to continue to play it after. And I won too. Like, so my first game I played of the finals, I lost because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And as I was playing it, I began to realize, oh, okay, I get what I'm supposed to be doing now. but I was playing with a friend and a random, and our team lost. We just didn't know what we were doing. So the next game, I ended up winning, and doing really, really well. Like I kicked ass and I owned because I knew exactly what I was supposed to be doing, and it just didn't do it for me. I don't know why. I just didn't have any desire to keep wanting to play it. Like I could see that everything here is well made. I see what the hook is. I see what the gameplay loop is, but I guess it's just one of those experiences where it's like it happens. You know, you can play a very high quality, well made game, but for whatever reason, what it's doing just isn't. It's not getting its hook in you. You know, I have to try the tournament mode. Maybe that's why. Then maybe I'll give that a try. Yeah, I wanted to try it because it shadow dropped and everybody, well, not everybody, but a lot of people were saying that, it's pretty good. You're saying that's the real game? Interesting. What's the difference? If you don't mind like explaining, I'm curious. Like what's the game is all about competition and unlocking ranked. You have to try it with two friends. Yeah, I could get that feeling as well. Like it's super competitive. And that's what's weird to me is like I think it you know what I think it may have made me realize is I don't know that competitiveness is a selling point for me anymore. I think when I was younger it used to be, but I think like I'm more about a grind, as weird as that sounds, than competitiveness. Maybe not though. Goes in brackets. Okay. Okay, yeah. I could see I could see why that would be more addicting, where it's like you just have that desire to want to come out on top, win that tournament. I might give it another shot. I can't make any promises though, because like I said, I'm like overwhelmed with the amount of stuff I have to play, which is not a bad problem to have. You gotta go to the finals, I guess you could say. I haven't. Yeah, I need to unlock some other weapons as well. That's another thing. I think I have enough to unlock a new weapon. Maybe that's why. But oh, by the way, I meant to ask you guys. I saw that Sony is doing a free multiplayer weekend for a couple of games. I think they're doing it for FC 24 and Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. There was a third game. I forget what the third game was. I think maybe it was Rainbow Six Siege or something. But I was actually considering like, oh, okay, it's a free weekend where you can play the multiplayer. I was considering trying Call of Duty, but I noticed like it's not giving me the option to play it anywhere. Like it's just telling me to buy it, and I'm like, I'm not buying this. Like I thought there was a free multiplayer weekend. I was willing to try it and see if I'm missing out on anything, but I don't know. I guess I'm trying to ask, does anybody here not have Call of Duty and is playing it for free? Because I was very confused about that. But I'm just at a point where it's like, well, okay. If it's not there, then whatever. Is there regular TDM mode in the finals? I don't think so. I don't think so. You think that just means you don't need PS Plus? Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, you know what? Hold on. That's so weird. I think that's exactly right. Maybe I misunderstood it. Yeah, so you don't need it's free. Okay, free multiplayer. Yeah, I had that wrong. I thought that they opened up the game to everybody, like it was free to play for a day. But no, it's you don't need PS Plus to play online. So if you bought Call of Duty to not play online for some reason, then you would be able to. Okay, that makes sense. Well, I did play the beta for Call of Duty, and that pretty much told me like, yeah, I'm not gonna buy this game. So I probably would have felt the same way. But this was the first year you didn't buy it. The game has become absolute trash. I mean, this is one of yeah. There have been other years, I believe, where I haven't purchased it, but this was definitely one of the years where I was like, I don't know. I did play the beta, and I don't know, man. It's not even that it was like bad. It's just it's because it just felt like this. I don't know, man. I'm shocked they're charging 70. Where it's like this is just Modern Warfare 2. Like this is just literally. I mean, I know people kind of clown on Call of Duty every year, where it's like it's the same game. It's the same game. It's like no, like literally this year it is the same game. Maybe I think they changed like the movement a little bit, some of the mechanics, but I don't know. It just wasn't enough for me. I'm interested in hearing about next year's Call of Duty because again, it's Treyarch. They've had 4 years, and it's going to be another Black Ops title. I think it's going to be like set in the Gulf War. So I'm like, okay, it sounds interesting to me. Let's see what you guys got. You're saying you like the zombies? I've had a lot of fun with the zombies mode in the past, but I don't know. It just kind of I think it just kind of like wore thin on me at some point. Jake Skew, you're saying you buy Call of Duty just for the campaigns, or you did for a while in the past because you didn't have PS Plus. Okay, hmm, interesting. All right. Well, we're going to move on to the next topic here, which is some drama and some controversy facing the Game Awards. So I have a write up here from Push Square. They say the Game Awards 2023 largely delivered on its promise of celebrating the games industry with a veritable. I just want to say really quick, I can't stand reading from Push Square sometimes because the way that they write their articles, it just annoys me a lot. But anyway, let's try this again. The Game Awards 2023 largely delivered on its promise of celebrating the games industry with a veritable smorgasbord, however you say that word, of the announcements and trailers. However, one thing that was obvious to anyone watching is that award winners were not given much time on the stage to speak following Kratos' voice actor Christopher Judge's snafu last year. Watching the live stream, we noticed a musical interlude would kick in moments after the speaker just got started. The clock's ticking, The Last of Us creator Neil Druckmann joked when he went on stage to collect the HBO TV show's Best Adaptation Award. Sam Lake, who was called up twice, barely had a moment to gather his thoughts upon receiving Alan Wake 2's well-deserved awards. And as it turns out, that in the auditorium, there was a large teleprompter encouraging speakers to, quote, please wrap it up, end quote, once their speech had hit a certain mark. Obviously, we understand the importance of keeping the event on schedule, but this does feel disrespectful to those going on stage, especially when their speeches generally have to reflect their entire teams. It's something that the show is understandably getting ripped for. Just take a look at at these scathing hard drive headlines. Ad blockers make Game Awards 7 minutes long. So a bunch of people were pointing this out, but it says here, perhaps the real kick in the teeth here is that a lot of the time was dedicated to the likes of Hideo Kojima, who is an industry icon undoubtedly, but didn't really have much to show. This hastily assembled meme, which has been shared thousands of times, sums up the situation. And the meme, for those who are wondering, it's the woman at the computer desk at a cubicle and the, I guess, slender, well-dressed, I don't know, handsome man, put Kojima's face, picture of it, OD, and Jeff says, "Oh, you're so sweet." Sam Lake comes in as the heavier weight man, saying thanks for the, and it just says please write. You got, sorry, I'm probably doing a horrible job explaining what this looks like, but yeah, basically what's happening here is there's drama surrounding the integrity of the Game Awards because the likes of Hideo Kojima and other celebrities like Anthony Mackie and I forget his name, the guy who his leg was broken or something. Can somebody give me his name? He was in that Marvel. I don't remember the names of anything here. He was in that Marvel movie. But anyway, like these people got as much time basically as they wanted to just either say a whole lot of nothing or make jokes that didn't land. and the actual creators of the games, like Sam Lake and others, they get basically 30 seconds and then they're told to wrap it up. And, you know, I've been seeing some like really intense, not intense, but like I've been seeing people respond to this very extensively where they're like putting out like these really well thought out responses to this. And I kind of understand why that is, because it's like people want the Game Awards to be a place where we are actually celebrating the industry, and part of that celebration, a significant part of that, or maybe even the most important part of that, is celebrating the developers, right? Where it should be the other way around, where the developers should get the most amount of time to thank everybody and to give their thoughts on winning the award and have something to say. And the celebrities or people who are announcing games should have less time because the focus should be less on that. And here's what I think the problem is. Okay, I think the problem is that Jeff Keighley very obviously and understandably wants the Game Awards to basically be what E3 used to be. That's what he wants. That's undeniable. His biggest emphasis on the show and growing it is announcements, world premieres. He knows just as well as we do that that's why 98% of people tune in. It's not for the awards. It's not for hearing what the developers have to say about winning the awards. It's about the announcements. But because his show has found success by being an awards show, the Game Awards, that's the name of it now, he still has to factor that in. And it seems like every year, as the show becomes more and more successful, we are seeing that the awards are just kind of getting pushed more and more to the side, where we have all these categories for esports awards, but we just throw them out there and hand them out within the first 30 minutes of the pre-show. That's how important they are. What's the point? I mean, really, what's the point? We make such a big deal about who wins Game of the Year. We got a dude, from the Baldur's Gate development team that straight up came in a full suit of armor. We're only going to give him 30 seconds. But, Anthony Mackie can be up there and make jokes to the audience for what felt like 3 minutes straight, at which point everybody's kind of looking around being like, bro, you have something here to announce, or what's going on? And for as much as I like Hideo Kojima, yeah, it is a little bit weird that it's like, yes, Jeff, we know you're very good friends with Kojima, but to just blatantly give him like that much time to just talk about a game, you know what I mean? Like not even show anything really. I can understand why so many people are looking at this and just thinking this is just straight up disrespectful and not at all a celebration of the industry. If anything, it feels like it's disrespectful to the industry and to the developers. So I get that. But I do think there is a simple solution here. But before I go any further, we have Hellbound 1981 coming in and dropping 5 membership gifts for the community. Hellbound, thank you so much, my friend. I actually forgot to give a shout out to the top channel donors of last week. And Hellbound, the reason why you reminded me is because I wanted to let you know that you were very close there, man. And I just want to thank everybody. We have King Sam, Exley 3000, Oliver Opfer, and Corey Landiga. But Hellbound, you're here every stream, man. And obviously, you get a big shout out for that as well. And many, many other people. Unfortunately, I just can't put all the names up there on screen. If I did, it would take up the entire screen. But that just goes to show how generous this community really is and how kind. You got to wrap it up on this topic. Oh, I got to wrap this up, guys. Sorry. And we have Exley 3000, 2 legends coming in today, dropping some membership gifts onto the community. Exley drops 5, Hellbound drops 5. Let's get some W's
Thank
flowing
you.
in the chat.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you guys so much. That brings us up to 10 members on the day, which is awesome to see. So if anybody who was just gifted a membership is here in the chat and you just received that membership, you now have access to the members lounge. Okay, we're going to be doing a members lounge after this show. So look forward to that. And yeah, Exley, Hellbound, always appreciate that support, man. So let me add that to the counter here. We will keep this train going. Well, hopefully we'll keep the membership train going, but the topic train as well. And there we go. Boom. You guys basically just dropped the 10 bomb.
It's dangerous to rely
Cerny.
on teraflops as
Shout
an
out to Mark
absolute
Cerny for being at the
indicator
Game
of
Awards
performance.
and not announcing anything. But I just wanted to say that I think the solution to this is very simple. I do. I think it's very simple. I think it's that Jeff should have 2 separate shows. I think that would be the easiest way to solve this problem and to just make it, he should, or maybe you could just call it the Game Awards, but you could, I don't know. Because that's the whole thing. It's the branding of it, where if Jeff wanted to create a second show where it's just for the announcements, it would be kind of awkward to call it the Game Awards world premiere show or something, because it's like, what does this have to do with awards? It doesn't. It's just about world premieres. So like from a branding perspective, it would mess things up, right? But I think the biggest problem with the Game Awards, truthfully, is it's just too bloated. It's too long. It's too big of a show. And the reason for that is because I think Jeff is trying to do 2 things at once that just one demands more than the other. And that's so clear, where you want to get as many world premieres as possible. You want to show as many new things as possible to grow the show, to bring in as large an audience as possible, to keep the show growing year over year. But you also are obligated to make the show about the awards and the developers. You have to. So you can sit there and you could say you only get 30 seconds, wrap it up. But still, this year's Game Awards was still over 3 hours long. I just think, yeah, there you go. Winter Game Fest. Perfect. There you go. He does Summer Game Fest. Do 2 separate shows. Do one just for the awards. That's like a week prior. Right? And just make it about the devs, about the awards, and then do a second show after. Now, I don't know, maybe that's not realistic. Maybe that's way too complicated, where it's like, is it possible to actually do 2 shows back to back like that? Maybe just get rid of the awards then. Because I'll tell you this, and this is just the brutal truth, and I'm sure Jeff knows this, and I think everybody knows this as well. If you removed all of the announcements and all of the world premieres from the Game Awards, no one would tune in. Like, some people would, but that viewership would drop probably over 90%. Probably 95% of that viewership would drop. And I know that might be sad to like people who really care about the industry and the hard work from these developers, but that's just the way it is, man. Because there are many other award shows, like the BAFTAs and stuff, that are like way more important to developers. No one tunes in. Like, hardly anybody tunes into those. And they're hardly even talked about by gamers, even though those awards mean much more, like from a development standpoint, where it's like a developer winning a BAFTA versus a developer winning a Game Awards trophy is polar opposites, in terms of what one really matters. And this is why I just think that Jeff maybe should just sever the tie here and just make it clear that, because the thing is like, what we're looking at right now, right? Everybody's looking at this and being like, this is just wrong, man. Like, this is just disrespectful. So it's like, what is he going to do? Is he going to say, you know what, you're right, we're not going to give them a cutoff time next year, or we're going to extend it by another minute or something and give them like a minute and a half to talk. You do that, the show's going to be like even longer than it already is. You're going to, like, if he were to make that announcement, less people would tune in. So I think what Jeff and company need to do, honestly, is just cut the bullshit, frankly, and just make a show dedicated to announcements. And if that means no more actual game awards, then so be it. Because that's not what we're here for anyway. Jeff knows it. We know it. Hell, even the developers probably know it. Oh, also, remove the celebrity stuff. I hate that. Like, it's just not needed. Like, I don't care that Matthew McConaughey's on stage. Well, Grant, okay, maybe Matthew McConaughey's a little bit different, I guess, because he was announcing a game. Whatever, he's part of it. Fine. But like, bringing the celebrities in just for the name, just for the sake of, like, we have a celebrity here, and you could tell, like, they just kind of, these celebrities, they kind of play into it a little bit, where they seemingly, I don't know, like, they treat it like, yeah, that's right, a celebrity at the Game Awards. Isn't that surprising? Like, no, it's not. And no, like, I don't know why anybody would even really care, Anthony Mackie was on stage for 1 minute and 47 seconds. Celebs bring in the money. Well, you know what? I will say this. Celebrity appearances would be way more justified if it was just an announcement show. If the awards were actually removed and it was just an announcement show, I do think that some celebrity appearances would be much more justified, because it's like, okay, you want to give Anthony Mackie a minute and 46 seconds to just screw around. Okay, let's get back to the announcements now. But it's like, well, he spends a minute and 46 seconds screwing around, then he announces the winner, then the winner only gets literally 30 seconds to thank everybody and say what they got to say, and then we just move on with it. And it's just disrespectful to the actual award side of it. And that's why I think it's like, if it were up to me, and it's either we continue to disrespect the award side of it, or we just axe it, I would say you need to just axe it. Because just cutting it and getting rid of it is better. Like, that is more respectful than actually straight up disrespecting developers this way, in my opinion. It's not that serious at the end of the day, where it's like, oh my God, these poor developers. Listen, man, it's not that serious. But for what it is, I just feel like everybody's losing here. I feel like I'm losing as a viewer, because it's like, dude, I'm not here for the developers. Good for them. I'm happy for them, but that's not why I'm here. I'm here for the announcements. And then the developers aren't happy, because they're like, well, we won an award, but we got rushed off stage and we couldn't even get to thank people. So who's winning here is what I need to know. That's my confusion. So if Jeff Keighley were to announce, we're retiring Kojima, yeah, Kojima's winning. Clearly. If Jeff Keighley were to announce, maybe in 2025 or something, like, we're retiring the Game Award, the VGA name, and we're rebranding it to Winter Games Fest, where it's basically going to be full of world premieres and developers announcing games and possibly some celebrity appearances or whatever to hype up games, whatever. I'm just saying, man, like, who's gonna be like, gasp, oh no, what now? I don't think anybody would. At this point, I don't even think the developers would. I think the developers would just look at it as, well, good. At least we don't have to worry about, getting all dressed up, and if we win, getting rushed off the damn stage. You're saying Jeff isn't winning no matter what he does? Everything he does will get backlash? Well, I do agree with that to an extent, but that's even more reason why I think he should just say screw it. Because it's like, I think he has a better chance of growing the viewership if he removes the award aspect. Unless I don't know, maybe I'm a little bit out of touch, or maybe my perception of the Game Awards has changed. But I've seen a lot of people on the internet like fighting or arguing about who won Game of the Year, and I'm like, I don't know, man. Maybe I partook in those conversations in the past, but dude, I just don't care anymore. Like a literal PlayStation game was up for Game of the Year, and I couldn't have cared less. You know, it's like cool, that's okay. But I guess I learned like a while ago that dude, the Game Awards are not like they're really not to be taken seriously, even remotely. And I don't know, some of the reactions I've seen from people, I don't know. I guess it is a big. I mean, for like the winners, I guess it is a big deal. You know, I get that. It's a marketing show. Well, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. It's like it's like trying to mix water and oil. Two things that just don't mix. You know, it's they will be separate. They have to be separate because they don't mix. That's why I don't understand what Jeff is trying to achieve here. And I like admire his ambition of like, let's have an all-in-one, all encapsulating. But listen, when it comes to rating the Game Awards this year, in my opinion, it was a good show in terms of game announcements. One of the better shows. There were a lot of games that were revealed across the industry that I'm like, man, these games look really good, very promising. But I can tell you right now, no matter what, no matter how good that show was, there's still a major thorn sticking out in the side of it. And that is, it was way, way too long. And there were way too many segments where I'm just like, I'm going to fall asleep. You're losing me. I cannot continue to focus on this much. Like I'm 2 hours into this, and there's another ad or there's another celebrity comment, and I'm just like, way, way, way too much fat that needs to be trimmed. Water and oil mixed to make a great salad dressing. But that's my opinion on this. RPG88, a longtime member for 17 months, says Light No Fire is my most anticipated game now. Apparently that is the it's the new No Man's Sky game, so to speak. Apparently that is, you know, like the most viewed trailer out of the Game Awards, which is pretty impressive, man. Pretty impressive. You're saying your live streams are 3 hours. Stop complaining, LOL. No, that's true. I get it. It's like the kettle calling the, or you know, the pot calling the kettle black. I get it, but I get it's just me. Well, but the thing is though, like I don't have like a million people tuning in. You know what I'm saying? And it's like if I had a million people tuning in and I knew they were here for like one reason, I don't know. I guess I would just think to myself like, I should just probably try to, you know, there's also a lot of complaints about the time in which the Game Awards are happening. I know a lot of people were saying they wanted to tune in, but it's like in the middle of the night for them. So I don't know, man. Andreas Bone. I mean, yeah, I could kind of see why it's viewed that way. Well, anyway, to wrap this topic up, I just feel like Jeff should reevaluate the balance of the show. Like, I wouldn't mind. I would respect Jeff and his team that puts together the Game Awards if he said, you know what? We're going to tone down the announcements. We're going to tone down the celebrities. We're going to put more of an emphasis on the awards and on the developers. I would respect him for that because that's going to drop viewership. But you know what? You're doing the right thing. I would respect that, but I don't think he's going to do that. I think he's just going to, I don't want to say ignore the feedback he's getting right now, because he's getting a lot of feedback. I don't think he can ignore it. But I just think that realistically, he's going to look it over. And every year, it just becomes more clear that people are watching for the announcements and everything in between. Now, maybe the middle ground, and I just want to say this last thing, just to offer like maybe a better compromise here. Maybe a better middle ground is cut out anything that is fluff. Anything like Kojima is given the same amount of time to announce his game without some big spectacle reveal, like entrance, as every other developer. No one gets special treatment. Celebrities don't get special treatment. I think if he could do that and put those strict rules in place, because that's the thing, is like if you're going to put strict rules in place for the winners of the game of the awards, strict rules should be in place for everybody else as well. If they can do that and basically put strict rules across the board for everybody in an effort to keep the show concise and keep it tight, then I think that could work as well. But that also involves Jeff Keighley turning to his best friend, Hideo Kojima, and saying, sorry, man, I'm just going to have to talk to you on the side platform here for about a minute and a half, and then we're going to have to move on. Yeah, no, and the Muppet stuff, like, what is going on there, man? What is going on there? Well, gotta wrap it. All right, I gotta wrap it up. You're right. I gotta wrap up this topic. It's going on for too long. All right, the next topic we're going to talk about, though, is one I'm actually very interested in. Rise of the Ronin. I have to ask you guys right now. I'm actually going to put out a poll. I want to put out a poll, and I want to ask you, how are you feeling about Rise of the Ronin? I meant to have this poll out earlier, or have it ready to go. All right, there we go. I'm going to put out this poll, and you guys can vote on it. Are you excited for Rise of the Ronin? Yes. Not sure. No. I put not sure there because I feel like some people still feel like they have to see more of it and hear more of it or learn more about it. But I want to talk about Rise of the Ronin because, yeah, that's what I put in my title. Rise of the Ronin looks, I wanted to put very promising, but I don't know. Maybe that's overselling it. But based off of everything I can see, Team Ninja's, I think, pretty well respected. Is it a Souls-like? That's the thing. It seems like it's more similar to Ghost of Tsushima than something like Dark Souls. Because if you think about like what Neo is their take on, I think, the Souls-like genre. To me, Rise of the Ronin seems to be their take on the open world action adventure game, but I do suspect that they will have a deeper layer of complexity for combat. At least that's my assumption based off of their previous work with Neo. But I want to read this from the PlayStation blog so you guys can get more information. Rise of the Ronin arrives exclusively on PlayStation 5 March 22nd. Pre-order start December 14th. We are pleased to introduce our brand new gameplay trailer for Rise of the Ronin and to confirm that the game will be releasing March 22nd, 2024, with pre-orders available from December 14th, 2022. So the one big issue with this release date, to me, is it's releasing the same day as Capcom's Dragon's Dogma 2. And that makes me a little bit nervous for this game because they are different games, but they also share some similarities in the sense that they're big AAA $70 titles. They are open world titles, and they both feature a certain amount of combat and action. But other than that, Dragon's Dogma is very different in terms of its setting and its It's very much seemingly an RPG. But still, what's tough to me about it is that, like, man, I'm excited for Dragon's Dogma 2. And so it's always painful to see two really big, exciting games like this launching at the exact same time, because you have to choose which one are you going to play first. I think in this case, I am going to choose Rise of the Ronin, because I'm really, really interested to see if this game ends up being what I think it's going to be. I do wonder if they're going to have a. I do wonder if they're going to have a demo as well. But they say here, we've been hard at work since we announced this title in September of last year, spurred on by the excitement that our players have voiced since then. As a title, Rise of the Ronin features a historical setting quintessential to Koei Tecmo, while brimming with Team Ninja's own brand of action and combat. Throughout creating our biggest game to date, we have been working alongside the team at Sony Interactive Entertainment to create an experience that allows players to fully embody a Ronin during the closing days of the Tokugawa shogunate. Tokugawa shogunate. I think I'm saying that correctly. Somebody please correct me if I'm not. See, that's something I did want to point out here when talking about Rise of the Ronin. I don't know how many people caught this, but the PlayStation Studios logo appeared before this latest trailer. And the reason for that is because Sony's in-house X-Dev team has apparently been helping out Team Ninja a lot with this game. And so there are actually Sony developers working on this title, which is pretty significant because I think it just kind of... Is it Shogunate? Is that how you pronounce it? Shogunate? I don't know. What was I saying? Shogunate? Uh-oh. Me and my pronunciation. Here we go again. But this is hold on. You're saying you had high hopes for this game, or that game, but it turned out to be a disappointment. Are you talking about Rise of the Ronin? You may be talking about a different game. You think Dragon's Dogma 2 looks way better? Dragon's Dogma 2 does look really good. And I don't know, that's the thing, man, is it's like Dragon's Dogma 2, I feel like the setting is more appealing to me. Like just this kind of high fantasy, RPG. I mean, literally fighting dragons and shit, But they are two different games. But yeah, I don't know. It's hard to compare because Rise of the Ronin looks. I don't know, man. The only negative thing I can say about Rise of the Ronin so far is just from a graphical standpoint, it does look pretty dated. Like it definitely does not have the most appealing graphical style. Certainly doesn't have any type of like photorealism. It doesn't have that like next gen look to it. But I just don't know. Like it looks pretty good. I mean, I'm looking at some screenshots, and yeah, I'll be honest with you. Like I'm looking at these screenshots. The graphics look dated. Just straight up, the graphics look like PS4 era graphics, frankly. It's not to say it looks bad. It just doesn't look up to snuff with what you would expect from like a dedicated PlayStation 5 only exclusive. So we'll have to see. Maybe between now and release, they'll polish it up more, make it shinier, make it prettier. But to me, the main draw of Rise of the Ronin is not the graphics. I mean, it would be nice if it looked better, of course, but it's everything they're showing with the mechanics, the gameplay, the traversal, and how there's going to be some kind of story here at play. It looks very enticing to me. Angry Whale Watcher with a $5 super chat says, do you think Sony acquired Housemarque for its roguelike expertise? Do you think God of War or The Last of Us 2 would be getting roguelike modes without Returnal's W? Yeah, I kind of got asked this question somewhat earlier, and to answer this, Angry Whale Watcher, I think Housemarque was acquired just for their talent in general. I don't think it was just because of their expertise in roguelike. I think it was just because they proved during the development of Returnal that they have what it takes to create a AAA game that just happens to be a roguelike. And I think with the release of Returnal, in my opinion anyway, I don't have like any data to support this, but it's just kind of a hunch I have. I think with the release of Returnal and its success on PlayStation with the PlayStation fan base, it may have kind of opened the window to other teams within Sony like Santa Monica and Naughty Dog, where it kind of, kind of reveals to them that, oh, there is an appetite for this, within our fan base. Because, you do have to sometimes wonder if maybe some of Sony's studios get a feeling that really they could only make one type of gameplay experience that is going to be appealing to their core audience. But with stuff like this, the Last of Us No Return mode and God of War Valhalla, I think it just kind of shows that they are willing to experiment a little bit more when given the opportunity. And I do think, to answer your question as simply as I can, I do think Returnal and Housemarque have had some influence in this regard, because I mean, it is just kind of interesting that after Returnal, we start seeing more Sony studios embracing this genre. So, yeah, that's what I'm thinking, man. So, Angry Well Watcher, thank you so much for that super chat. Have I played Ninja Gaiden? I think I played a little bit of Ninja Gaiden like way, way back, but not really much experience with it. My memory is blurry of it if I did play it. I feel like I did, though, a little bit. But their article, or their write-up here on the PlayStation blog, continues by saying Japan at the end of the 19th century was characterized by the fall of the Tokugawa shogunate, a period of oppression and stagnation. It was a time when inventors like Ryoma Sakamoto and Shoin Yoshida sought to modernize the country. The game's Ronin protagonists will find their destiny linked to these characters, some of who you saw in the trailer, in several different ways. Your choices will shape how your character aligns or clashes with story characters and their factions. So it sounds to me like this is going to be a game based on decision, where there are going to be these different factions, and you will have the opportunity to decide who you want to align with. So they're going to give you, at least that's what they're seemingly hinting at here. They say here you will explore the vast world of late Edo Japan period, late Edo period Japan by horse and glider, while battling foes using a wide range of weapons and equipment. Melee weapons like swords and spears, as well as ranged weapons like firearms and thrown weapons. Also, armed with a grappling rope and stealth tactics, you can expect the variety and freedom shown in our latest trailer. See, this is why I'm starting to think this is going to be very similar to Ghost of Tsushima, where there's like seemingly some kind of clash going on here between rival factions or different factions, and you're kind of going to be in the middle where you can, well, the main difference is it seems like in this game, you're going to have more choice where you can align with one or the other, but you will have, you can just attack aggressively, or you can choose to go with stealth. It's just really, and you can travel by horseback. It's just really giving me that kind of Ghost of Tsushima feel. I think that's really what's doing it for me with this game. Truthfully. They say here that in addition to our launch date, we are excited to share your options for experiencing Rise of the Ronin. Pre-orders will be open on December 14th at participating retailers. Pre-orders go live at 10 a.m. local time. And it says players who pre-order any version of Rise of the Ronin will receive an early unlock of Iga Ninja's katana and armor set, with an early unlock of 4 combat styles to help you forge your fate. They say get your hands on the standard edition of Rise of the Ronin for $70. There will also be a digital deluxe version of the game. The digital deluxe edition of Rise of the Ronin will include the game, all pre-order incentives, as well as Iga Ninja staff, Toyokuni paired swords, and Bando Warrior armor set, and Japanese formal wear set. And they have a picture up of it here. And they say here, with closing that I'm thrilled to finally be able to use this opportunity of the Game Awards to announce the game's release date. We are releasing an exciting lineup of editions for the game with bonus content, and pre-orders will begin soon. The different editions include unique samurai and ninja inspired content that will surely resonate with fans of Team Ninja titles. Stay tuned for further updates on the game. And so, yeah, I mean, the thing I can't quite figure out with Rise of the Ronin so far is it seems to me that this game is falling a little bit under the radar. And I don't want to say that's unfortunate because that implies that I have a reason why it shouldn't. But I don't know. I just get this general feeling that this game, I don't want to say that I'm worried about it, but I like when I first saw this game revealed, it really spoke to me. And this latest trailer is speaking to me as well. And it's a game I'm really looking forward to. And I just wonder if it's going to be something that is going to, if it's going to be a game that people really kind of gravitate towards or not. Because I'm not, like, I feel like right now there doesn't seem to be that much excitement for it. Like, I think there's like, it's speaking to a certain audience, and that audience is definitely expressing excitement, like myself. But I'm just wondering because I feel like they said this game was in development for like 7 years or something like that, and we know that Sony's directly involved. So I just get this feeling that like they want to push this game to be like pretty successful, and it'll be interesting to see how it lands when it comes out, especially since it's launching on the same day as Dragon's Dogma 2. But how well do I think it'll sell? Yeah, I mean, I'm going to say I don't think it's going to be the strongest seller. It seems like it definitely has its appeal, but I could see it maybe selling a modest 1 million copies in like a couple months, something like that. MBG Team Ninja is a gameplay studio. That's what I'm thinking as well. The Tsushima audience must be sizable. Ronin is for them, presumably. That's kind of what I'm thinking too, where you think it will sell at least 2 million. I could see that. Yeah, I think that would be a pretty big success. Yeah, that's kind of my worry, Dark Horse. I am a little bit worried about Rise of like maybe they'll end up pushing it back a little bit by a couple weeks. Like maybe to early April, just to get out of the way of Dragon's Dogma. Because yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the appeal is for Dragon's Dogma 2. I assume it's relatively popular, but I feel confident in saying that Dragon's Dogma 2 is more popular than Rise of the Ronin in terms of anticipation. And like if people are going to have to choose, I think more people are going to choose Dragon's Dogma just because Rise of the Ronin is a new IP, Whereas Dragon's Dogma 2, I mean, this is a sequel that a lot of people have been asking for. But I don't know. We'll see. I will say this though. The thing that makes me very happy about Rise of the Ronin is not just the fact that it does look promising, but it's also the fact that it's coming so soon. Like there was that rumor that claimed it was targeting Q1 2024, and I thought to myself, well, there's a lot of games in general releasing between now and April 1st next year. Like there are a lot of games. There are a few Sony games, or PS5 games, Final Fantasy Rebirth and Helldivers 2, and then we find out about The Last of Us Remastered. So I was like, that's pretty decent, I would say. I've seen people saying that that's not the strongest lineup and they're not that excited for it. I get that, and it's really nothing from Sony first party, but just to kind of throw Rise of the Ronin in there too is like, okay, well, there's content there, I mean, we could have the conversation as like how exciting is this content? How exciting is this lineup for the first quarter of 2024? Sure, I mean it's subjective ultimately, but as somebody who was very much wanting to see and hear more of Rise of the Ronin, it was a little bit surprising for them to just kind of come out and be like, "Oh yeah, it's coming out in just a couple months." I'm like, "Okay, yeah, that sign me up. That sounds good, man." Oh yeah, Pacific Drive. Apparently that's coming too. What month is that coming out? I forgot about that game. Actually, you're saying it's ironic that Dragon's Dogma was not a huge success at launch. Over the years, it built up a bigger following. That's probably what will happen with Ronin. That would be cool. Yeah. I mean, to me, Rise of the Ronin is a game that it could surprise people. You know, I think right now, again, from a graphical perspective, I don't think it's impressing anybody. I think it's leaving a lot to be desired, but I think there are Team Ninja fans that are excited for it. I think that there are Ghost of Tsushima fans like myself who are really liking what they're seeing of this. And it could be one of those things where it's like, once people play it, they're like, this game is a great game. Like, it just feels amazing to play. Maybe it reviews well. Maybe it gets good word of mouth. I'm not saying it's going to fail. I'm just saying, like, you know, I just get the feeling they want this to be a little bit more successful than their past titles. And we'll see. Maybe not. Yeah, I heard Dragon's Dogma. I never did play it. I heard it's really good though. So I'm gonna play the sequel, but now I will probably be late to it since I'm gonna go with Rise of the Ronin first. You're saying Dragon's Dogma is super popular in Japan. Interesting. Interesting. Well, who knows? Maybe even Dragon's Dogma could end up getting delayed slightly. I'll be keeping an eye on that. I'll be keeping an eye on if we're gonna see either of these games get delayed. You're saying if Sony is backing it, they must have seen some promise. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. Is Sony is backing this game, so they must think that what Team Ninja's cooking up here is going to be generally appealing to the PlayStation audience, and maybe Sony's mindset is similar to ours, where it's like, well, Ghost of Tsushima sold over 10 million copies, which is a lot. Like, Ghost of Tsushima was a new IP and it sold over 10 million copies, and this game seems to share some similarities. So maybe they had the same kind of, thought process. Wait until reviews, MBG, so another Lies of P and Lords of the Fallen situation doesn't happen. Yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah, Lords of the Fallen was so disappointing, honestly, man. I like Lords of the Fallen is one of those rare instances of it where I feel like I was tricked by the marketing of a game. Like, when I say tricked, I don't mean like totally deceived, but just the game in its marketing looked awesome, and like some of the gameplay I saw looked awesome. And then when I finally got to play it myself, I'm just like, something just feels off here. Something just doesn't feel right. Something feels wrong with this game. Like, just fundamentally, something doesn't feel like it's clicking into place. Um, falling for the bait is classic. Yeah. Well, to me, Rise of the Ronin looks promising, but I can completely understand anybody who's on the fence with it and feels like they have to see more. What I'm wondering is if Sony's going to give it a state of play. I feel like we haven't seen a dedicated state of play for a game in quite some time, actually. When was the last time we got a dedicated state of play for a game? I don't know. Maybe they'll do it for Rise of the Ronin. I think if Sony does it for Rise of the Ronin, they might feel pretty confident in it. But did we get? I don't think we got a dedicated state of play for Spider-Man 2. No, they put it in their state of play with a new trailer, but not like a dedicated like one where it's like, we're going to show you a chunk of the game and have the dev talk about it. You're saying games shouldn't be looking like PS4 games in 2024 from Sony. I'm sorry. No, I get that too. Like, I'll put it to you this way. If the weakest part of Rise of the Ronin is the way it looks, where it's like it just doesn't look good, but everything else is great, I can live with that. I can. Like, I can accept that. But I do agree that it is like one of those things where it's like, I mean, come on, man. Like, this is a 2024 PS5 exclusive. It should look a little bit better. But people have told me that, like, dude, that's kind of Team Ninja's thing. Like, no one's going to Team Ninja expecting like really great graphics, frankly. And that seems to be the case. And it's kind of funny because it's like, I guess that must be true because even with Sony helping, you're saying it looks good to you. Well, that's the thing. I don't want to hate on it too much or make it seem like I'm just straight up hating on it because it doesn't look like, like, oh my God, that looks offensively bad. It's not like that, but it is just one of those things where it's like, yeah, I think it's safe to say this game could probably easily run on PS4, and that for an exclusive game doesn't necessarily, that's not what you would expect to see. Certainly not. You're saying Team Ninja just does solid games. It's not about graphics, it's about gameplay. Yeah, that's the thing, man. It's like we talk about graphics a lot, which is natural. I think everybody to a degree talks about graphics a lot, but at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, man, it is the gameplay. It is the gameplay. It's just without good gameplay, nothing else matters. You can get away with bad graphics if you have excellent gameplay, but you cannot get away with having bad gameplay. You just can't. You can't. You could have, again, man, like you could have the craziest graphics in the world, but if your gameplay sucks, it's over. It's over. No one's going to like your game. So as much as I do advocate for pushes and, how far can we push the graphics for a console exclusive and whatnot, it's always cool to see. But, if a game looks fun to play, then I'm sold more than anything, Yeah, that's true as well, Broccoli Rob. You're saying, yeah, Souls games aren't the most visually impressive games out there, but gameplay is S tier. That's true as well. Yeah, I mean, games like Elden Ring, like, it was not like the most cutting edge graphics, but the thing that did it is it just has this. Not only is the gameplay S tier, but it's like, yeah, Dark Souls 1 through 3, Elden Ring, Bloodborne. It's even the performance of these games isn't S tier, but it's just that the gameplay and the presentation and the style, it's next level. And that's what matters seemingly most to people. So, all right. Yeah, I agree with that actually. You're saying Lies of P looks pretty great. I'm still playing in the performance mode, and I know I've talked a lot about Lies of P, but man, like dude, Lies of P to me is just a game that came out of nowhere and just like suplexed something. I don't know, man. Like they suplexed the expectation in my opinion because believe me when I tell you, I had reached my breaking point with Souls-like games. I have. Like I got so tired of this, man, every game, not every game, but there were too many Souls likes, there's too many and too many of them are just mediocre or just lacking that thing that makes a Souls game so good, or Souls or what made Bloodborne so good, or what made Elden Ring so good. And the thing about, yeah, I agree, B Flesh, you're saying the production quality. The thing about Lies of P is it's just like it understands. Like that is the most important thing to me about Lies of P is it understands what makes a Souls game a Souls game. And I understand that some people were like, "Oh, they copied too much," but it's like, actually, listen, the formula, yes, they copied the formula itself. But in terms of the presentation, in terms of the story, in terms of doing, like, what is it that we can do very uniquely, right? While maintaining the essence of what a Souls game is. It's the presentation, it's the story side, it's the characters, it's the lore, and all of this is very uniquely done, very well done. And I gotta say, like, I'm genuinely interested to kind of see like where this goes because they're introducing more characters still. And but yeah, even from a graphical presentation, the thing I like about Lies of P is it's clean. It's really, really clean, man. Like I'm playing on PS5 in the performance mode, and As far as I can tell, it's locked at 60. I'm not seeing any dips, and if they are there, I literally haven't noticed them. Everything looks, again, it just looks clean and it's smooth, and the animation work is good. It's impressive. Like I just can't believe how impressive the game is. I remember back in I think this game was announced for the first time in 2021. And I remember I reacted to it and I was like, guys, this looks awesome. And I was like afraid. I was like afraid, like, is it going to be a disappointment? Because I've been down this road many times, and I'm just so happy that, like, not only is it not a disappointment, this may end up being my game of the year. It's like I'm just enjoying it that much, truthfully. Yeah, I don't want. You're saying the world building, the art direction, the music, the sound, the gameplay, the lore, exemplary on all levels. Well, it's like I said, man. To me, the highest compliment I could give Liza P is if I didn't know about this game, like if I had woke up from a coma after playing Elden Ring, like I woke up from a coma like 2 years later, and you gave me Liza P and said, this is FromSoft's next game, I would believe you. I would say, oh, wow. I guess instead of Bloodborne 2, they went in this Pinocchio direction. And I would believe you. I'd say, yeah, this is definitely FromSoft. I would feel like there's a little something there that feels just slightly different. Like the graphical styles definitely, they changed their graphical style a little bit. But I would believe, like, yeah, this is a FromSoft game. This is crazy. This is awesome. And so to me, that's a pretty, I think that's a pretty high compliment because FromSoft is considered like a GOAT developer. You're saying MBG is playing Liza P just to avoid Sekiro, and after that, he will play Fortnite to keep avoiding it. We'll see one day with Sekiro. Show MBG Sekiro, and he would rather go back into a coma. So I'm pretty sure Sekiro for me is going to have to be a very specific time and place thing. I do. I think for me, Sekiro is a game where I'm going to have to be in a certain frame of mind. And that's the only way I'm going to be able to really get into that game in the way that I think is going to be required for me to get through it, let alone enjoy it. That's what I think anyway. You're saying Liza P is not for you? Interesting. Am I enjoying it more than Elden Ring? I am. I know some people are gonna like cringe when they hear that, but I really am, and it's for one reason and one reason alone. It is linear, and it's not keeping me. My biggest complaint about Elden Ring is this: it's that the game doesn't tell you literally anything. You have to figure everything out on your own, and I understand and respect that. I do. And I understand that there are many players that are like, that's what makes the game so good. That's not me. I will play the Elden Ring DLC. Absolutely. To be clear, I still loved Elden Ring. But it's just like, I can't deny that when I think of my time with Elden Ring, one of the first thoughts that comes to my mind alongside the good thoughts is this really huge negative spot of like, man, it was such a pain in the ass getting lost in that game and not knowing where to go or what to do or how to do any of the side quests. And that Elden Ring, and I know, there are like people who, I know that there are like people who are very much, that they feel the need to defend this. And I don't think it needs to be defended because it's a design choice. And I can respect that design choice for what it is. But I would just hope that they could also respect that maybe that design choice isn't for me. I just couldn't navigate that world the way that I wanted to. And the way I wanted to was I felt like I needed some sense of direction. And the more I kept kind of, realizing that, man, I'm missing out on all this different stuff. And I know that the game is like, well, go explore. Like, you'll find that stuff the longer you explore. And I just was like, but I'm not enjoying the exploration factor of this game. Mainly because it's just I keep finding myself like the dungeons were cool, and that was one of the cooler parts of the exploration. But it really was how I just could never figure out, okay, if I'm trying to continue the main story, where am I supposed to go? And then I end up in areas that I'm like not supposed to be in yet. And I'm like, okay, it reminded me, honestly, it reminded me of Dark Souls 1 to a degree. And one of my biggest frustrations with Dark Souls 1, granted, it wasn't open world, but it was an interconnected world. Dark Souls 1 was one of those it was one of the first times I experienced like this game didn't tell you where to go or what to do. And it gave you the freedom to go where you want it. And I learned very quickly, like, oh, I went in that area to the left, not supposed to go there yet. I went to the area down below, definitely not supposed to go there yet. I went to the area to the right, that's where I'm supposed to go. So Dark Souls was a little bit more, it was funneled, you know, where it's like you can just pick path A, B, or C, and you realize very quickly, like, you're supposed to go down path B here. To whereas in Elden Ring, it's like there is no funnel. It's just, it's a whole, you know what I mean? It's just a whole map. Good luck. You'll figure it out. So I don't know. But Elden Ring is still like an S tier game to me. I still loved Elden Ring. Like, in fact, you're saying Elden Ring first playthrough requires your phone open the entire time. Yeah, I kind of feel that way. And I think that's where I struggle because I didn't want to play it that way. And I think I kind of realized at some point, like, you're saying I hate open world so much. No. I don't. I want to make it clear. I do not dislike open world. The thing I don't like are open world games that don't give you any direction. I can't stand that because I understand why they're doing it. We're like, we want you to explore. And I'm like, exploration is my least favorite thing to do in gaming because I don't know. It just is. Like, I like stumbling across things, but I like it to happen in an unexpected way where the game is not based around exploration. But if you choose to, maybe you can come across a couple secrets here and there. That's fine. But when a game is purely based on exploration with no direction, and that's how you're supposed to play the game, I can't stand it. It drives me nuts because I'm just like, there's too much. I'm overwhelmed. I just want to go back to my linear game. MBG likes Ubisoft open worlds. Well, I mean, to an extent, I think it can be overdone where it's like, you can be overwhelmed in the other direction where it's like, there's so much shit in front of me, I don't even know where to start. And that can be just as annoying where it's like, okay, now this is too much. So I think there's a balance, basically. And that's all I look for in games, you know? I really do wonder what Elden Ring would be like if it told you where to go. If it had like waypoints and if it had markers all over the map where it's like, here are all the dungeons you have yet to finish clearing. I do wonder like what that would do for me. And something tells me I would get so much more out of that game. I would. But I also understand why from Software's perspective, they're like, but what's the point of making an open world then? I get that because it's like, well, what's the point if you're going to mark everything, what's the point of making an open world? But that's where I feel like a good balance. It's kind of like GTA, right? Or Red Dead, where you have all this stuff on the map and it's all marked and it'll show you where to go and what you have to do. But there's also kind of scattered throughout the open world random stuff that isn't marked that you just can naturally come across. It's like you never know it's there. And I think that that's a good blend between the two. You think it would make it even more stressful? Wow, that's interesting. Gotta respect their vision all the same. Yeah, that's the thing. I'm not that type of person where like all games should be made for me to enjoy them. No. I do appreciate Elden Ring and the fact that it said to people like me, screw you, man. Either play it or don't. We're not gonna, this is what we want to do. I respect the hell out of that. I do. It may, make me a little bit disappointed on a personal level where it's like, oh, well, all right. But from a development creative standpoint, I am definitely on the side of please make the game you want to make. Make it for you first. I think the best art and the best type of games are the games that are made for those who are making them first. I do. I think that that's true for a lot of things where it's like there has to be. I don't think it's I don't think it's selfishness. I think it's just it's the truest piece of art you can get from a creative. And there's going to be an unbelievable amount of nuance to it because of that. And I think that if when you look at some of the most highly regarded art in terms of games, movies, music, anything, some of the best stuff and a lot of it, you can tell like whoever made this made it for themselves first, not for us. And that's kind of what makes it so fascinating. You think Souls games are boring? Why is that? Just out of curiosity, I'm just wondering what because I disagree. Like I don't know. To me, Souls games are. I mean, I don't know. I guess maybe the in between could be boring, but I don't know. But I think yeah, I think some of the biggest complaints for games these days are games that try to. So like I do feel that accessibility in games can be a double-edged sword at times. You know, like not in the sense that games should be less accessible. It's not that. It's just there's always this kind of conversation that persists where it's like all games should be accessible. And I disagree with that. I completely disagree with that, where it's like there should be games that are accessible to everybody, and there will be. But it's okay if there are games that are not. You know, it's okay if there are games that, well, if you're not good enough, too bad. That's okay. Like that's like there's no I don't see the problem in that because it's just go find a different game. There's plenty of them out there. In fact, there's one probably just like this one that tells you, "Oh yeah, you can play it on easy mode if you want." You know? And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. That's why I think sometimes when people push for accessibility, it can be a double-edged sword from a creative standpoint where it's like if there's a vision for a game the way it should be, and accessibility is not part of that vision, that's okay because there are other games where accessibility is part of that vision, and both can coexist. Actually, you're saying the best games are those who are passionate about games they're making. That's why Ubisoft and Activision games feel soulless. I think it's tough sometimes because I do believe that the majority, if not all, of the developers working at these studios do have some kind of passion. You know, like there has to be some kind of passion there. But I do just think that again, that's kind of like, you know, it is kind of how when you, I would imagine if you're a developer that gets hired at Activision to work on Call of Duty, like you have to know, right? Like you have to know you're being integrated as part of a machine here. You know, it doesn't mean you can't be passionate about the work you're doing, but you are part of a machine. And the expectation is a yearly Call of Duty. And, you know, you're not, if you're looking to be like the most creative individual out there, that's probably not going to be where you should be, you know? Same thing with Ubisoft to a certain extent. That's what YouTube is for. Just watch someone else beat it. Yeah. Dude, listen, that's fair. That's fair, man. Like, if somebody said Elden Ring is too annoying for me to play because I'm bad at it or I'm struggling with it, right? Or I just don't enjoy the exploration factor. And every time I encounter a boss, it's just too difficult. And they said, I just want to watch a playthrough and that's how I want to experience that game. That's totally fair. I see nothing wrong with that. I do think that person will be missing a vital piece of the overall experience, but they will still be able to see that game and witness it for what it is, just while lacking the firsthand experience. But I think it's fine, like, and if that person said, "Wow, Elden Ring is awesome," I never played it, but it's awesome. It's like, yeah, that's totally fair, man. I think that's totally fair. I think that's like, to me, that's like if you listen to a live version of a concert and you're like, man, these guys kick ass live. Like, they sound amazing live. And I like that. I like the way they sound. And then, it's like, well, so when did you go see them? It's like, oh, I never did. I listened to the live album. It's like, okay, you are missing like, there is that firsthand experience of being there in person with the amps, with the crowd. You are missing that. But at the same time, in my opinion, it is absolutely valid to say that, like, they sound good live, and I like that. I think they are a good live band. For example, like, I've never seen Meshuggah live, but I came across one of their more recent concerts, a video of it. It was like an hour-long show. I think it was from this year or last year, and I watched a chunk of it, and I'm like, these guys are insane live. Like, they sound identical to the album or even better. Like, and these guys are old too. They're older. I think they're like middle-aged at this point. And I'm like, how do they sound that good? So it's like, yeah, I've never seen them live, but I can just have that respect for them because of what I witnessed thanks to, a YouTube video. Anyway, all right, so I went a little bit off course here. I have two other topics we're going to discuss before we go to the members lounge. Have I already talked about Alone in the Dark? No, that's one of the other topics I have to discuss with you guys. I just want to go over this new information really quick from gamesindustry.biz. It says here, it's the third biggest Black Friday for video games so far in the UK. It's only beaten by Black Friday 2013 and Black Friday 2020, which both coincided with the launch of a new PlayStation console, the PS4 in 2013 and the PS5 in 2020. It says the UK physical video games market saw a revenue jump of 22% compared with last year's event. 47% of that revenue came from console sales, whereas just 40% of Black Friday 2022 revenue came from console hardware. In terms of where customers bought these products, 82% of Black Friday video game sales were via online retailers, which matches 2022's number. In 2020, the online share was 88%. They say here in terms of console hardware, sales were up 34% over Black Friday 2022, and this was driven by the PlayStation 5. PS5 was in limited supply in 2022, and as a result, PS5's Black Friday performance is 217% up compared with the year before. It was the second biggest sales week for the Switch, PS5, and the Xbox Series X and S sales since all three consoles were on the market. The previous biggest was the launch week of the PS5, which was also Black Friday and the second week of the Series X and S. PlayStation may grab the headlines, but it was still a strong week for the Xbox Series S and X, which managed to match its Black Friday performance from last year. Overall, Black Friday 2023 was the third biggest week for the Series S and X in console sales. That's interesting. Third biggest week. What were the other bigger weeks? I guess maybe the launch of Starfield, potentially. It says over in accessories, it was the biggest Black Friday yet for peripheral sales. It says VR was in the spotlight over Black Friday 2023, and it was the biggest ever revenue week for VR. So, pretty interesting there. Like, we're hearing that apparently, at least in the UK, you have to assume PSVR 2 is a significant part of this. Maybe not, but I would assume. But yeah, in terms of how, at least in the UK, how these consoles are performing, everybody seems to be doing well, but the PS5 is obviously thriving right now. So just thought I'd give you guys that little batch of information there. But I have one last topic here about Alone in the Dark and how it was delayed and why it was delayed. This is being reported by WCCF Tech. Alone in the Dark, the reboot of the long-running survival horror series, has seen another delay and will now release in March 2024 instead of next month. Today, publisher THQ Nordic confirmed that the game was delayed to March 20th for a very specific reason: to avoid crunch during the holidays for the development team at Pieces Interactive. The year's coming to an end and the Christmas holidays are upon us. However, until today, it didn't seem that way for Pieces Interactive, the team developing our upcoming survival horror game Alone in the Dark. With our initially planned release date of January 2024, the Christmas season would have been filled with stress and anything but a jolly time for them. Therefore, THQ Nordic and Pieces Interactive have decided to give Alone in the Dark a new release date, March 20th, 2024. The well-being of the team is a top priority, and both companies want to avoid any potential crunch over the Christmas holidays. Furthermore, THQ and Pieces Interactive want to ensure that the game not only meets but exceeds the expectations of the community, especially with the outstanding performances of Hollywood stars David and Jodie as the main protagonists. And it says here, with so many developers forced to crunch to release games in often unreasonable release windows, it's nice to hear that some publishers truly care about the well-being of their development teams. So that's really why I wanted to highlight this, because you know what? I haven't seen really anybody talking about this. I mean, I see WCCF Tech reported on it, and I'm sure there are other people reporting on it, but you know what? We see the headlines all the time, and a big deal made by people who are writing those headlines about how crunch is happening and it's destroying people's lives. It's destroying their mental health, their physical health, all in the name of the greedy corporation or the greedy gamer, whatever it might be. And I do think that sometimes, a version of crunch is needed in all things to achieve greatness. And that version of crunch I'm talking about is not the unhealthy kind. Like, for example, the kind where you're sleeping at your desk and not eating properly and not getting enough rest, and you have zero social life, you have zero time to spend with your family. I don't think any of that's good, and I don't think any of that should ever be necessary. I'm talking about the kind where, you know what, I'm going to put in an extra hour or two to do this, Oh, wow, this is interesting. Base kick slasher. I don't know if this is a glitch. Guys, are you seeing this? It says he became a member twice. Is that just on my end? But anyway, Base Kick Slasher. Let's give a big shout out to Base Kick Slasher because he decided to become a member. Yeah, I don't know. That's a weird glitch. I've never seen it do that before. But he joins Greatness Awaits. It looks like he actually re-upped his membership. So that brings us up to 11 members on the day, which is great to see. So Base Kick Slasher, thank you so much, man. You'll be able to join us in the members lounge very soon. We're going to be doing that after I finish this last topic. And so, yeah, thank you for all the support, guys. But yeah, I just, look, I wanted to just shine a little light on this because, everybody makes a big deal about toxic levels of crunch that are happening in the industry. And right now we are seeing a AAA game publisher that is out here straight up saying, like, we don't want our team crunching and stressing over the holiday. And I think that's admirable, honestly, because, they're delaying the game by about 2 months. And I feel like there are a lot of other video game publishers that would have said, screw you, like, get this game done. This is the deadline. We don't care if you have to crunch over the holiday. And I just think that that's nice because you know what? Like, I want to play this game. This game Alone in the Dark, it looks appealing to me. It's the Alone in the Dark reboot. It's starring like David Harbour, but it is a survival horror game and it looks pretty decent based off of what I've seen. I think there's like a little demo out there too, which I haven't played yet. But I was planning on supporting this game, and now I'm definitely going to support this game because I want to send the right message. And to me, the right message here is a publisher that's not afraid to delay their game by a couple months in the name of allowing their team to relax and enjoy the holiday and spend that time with their family and friends and not have to stress the hell out. And it's like, you know what? Good for them. Because we don't really see that often. And for, I just think that, you would think you would see more people shining a light on this, considering how much of a stink and fuss has been made about toxic levels of crunch. So I figured, hey, if nobody else besides WCCF Tech is going to do it, or maybe a few other outlets, I'll do it here too. And so, yeah, I do worry about it, though. I do wonder, like, March releases are starting to fill up. Boss is joining me here. I'm sorry, boss. I don't have any snacks for you yet. Shh, don't worry. Even if we don't hit our member goal today, I'll still give you a couple snacks later. But is it based on the Nickelodeon TV show? No. No, not that Alone in the Dark. This is Alone in the Dark is like an old video game series. It's been around for a long time. Yeah, that's Afraid of the Dark. That's funny. That would be so funny if that was what we were talking about here. But no. But guys, that is going to do it for all of the topics that I had lined up for you today. Just to recap, talked about Resident Evil 4 remake for PlayStation VR 2. We talked about the God of War Ragnarok Valhalla DLC. We talked about a little bit of the Game Awards controversy. We talked about Rise of the Ronin and how I think it looks promising. We actually had a little bit of a bonus conversation about Lies of P and Elden Ring and open world games and whatnot. But we closed it out with a little bit of new sales data as well as an update on Alone in the Dark. And so with that being said, guys, I do have a Members Lounge episode that is going to come up. You're saying Lies of P play MBG. Actually, listen, when I'm going to play Lies of P again, I'll be sure to let you know during that regular stream. It's not going to be today. I'm thinking about maybe doing it this week. I'll have to see, because I don't know. I was also thinking about maybe playing God of War Valhalla as well, but we'll definitely do another Let's Play of Lies of P in the Members Lounge. But in today's Members Lounge episode, I do have a specific topic that I want to talk about, a particular game that just came out that seems to be an absolute disaster dumpster fire. Should be pretty interesting. So, yeah, as I segue to my intro here, I just want to give a big thank you to all of you guys, everybody who watches, whether you were here watching live or you're watching it later. Thank you guys so much. I just want to ask you one last time to hit that like button to help out the stream. I want to thank everybody who gifted a membership. Boss, you're in my way here, bro. Boss, come on. Anybody who gifted a membership, anybody who became a member, and anybody who donated a super chat. Thank you guys so much for the direct support. As I always say, I wouldn't be able to do what I do here if it wasn't for that generous support. So big shout out to you guys. And one last shout out to Devil Shooter. He does the timestamps for all the streams. He does a phenomenal job. So if you see Devil Shooter in the chat or in the comment section, give him a thank you. And I can't see what I'm doing here because boss is in my way. But yeah, okay, so I'm going to be setting up the Members Lounge for today in the next 10 to 15 minutes. So if you are a member, look out for that. Look out for the notification. And I also want to end this poll here. Give me 1 second to end this, see what you guys voted on. I asked you guys, are you excited for Rise of the Ronin? And the results are 242 votes, 49% of you say yes, 33% say not sure, 17% say no. So there we go. All right, guys, that does it. I hope everybody enjoys the rest of their day. For everybody who's going to be in the Members Lounge, I will see you there. And for anybody who's not, I will catch you guys in the next stream. So until next time,